Hello, everyone. Welcome to another exciting commentary podcast. I'm Captain Logan.
And I'm Oliver Harper.
Oliver? What are you doing here?
I'm back.
Oliver and I are back for, I want to say this is the first time we've ever done anything that wasn't Superman related.
That is true. Oh my god. I'm actually
It's pretty exciting.
discussing Jurassic Park again. Well,
Again.
I reviewed it last week, so, you know.
Are you sick of Jurassic Park yet?
Maybe after this.
We'll do one more. Well, Oliver, would you, before you're done with it, would you watch it once with me?
Of course.
Oh boy, I'm so excited. So it's been, Oliver and I were talking about this earlier. I think it's been almost a year since we've chatted, and I think it was Man of Steel
That's right, yeah, a long time
was the
ago.
last thing we did. So anyway, yay for Oliver being back. So excited to get to talk to you again, pal. This is exciting. We're going to talk about Jurassic Park today, and as always with the commentary podcast, we're going to watch the film all the way through. We're going to talk about it as we're watching. This is a commentary and a podcast simultaneously, so if you want to watch the movie with us, grab your DVD or your Blu-ray, however you want to watch it, get it past all the menus, get it to timestamp 0, and get ready to press play as soon as I say now. Oliver, you're close to my age, so I'm sure you grew up with this movie and it was a big deal to you like it was to all of us kids.
Oh, yeah, certainly. You know, as I said in my retrospective, it's kind of like the Star Wars for our generation. You know, it was the big, summer movie that kind of blew everyone away with its visual effects and, changed the way of movie making, with visual effects in the whole industry. So it's a big deal.
Yeah. I was not allowed to watch it in the theater.
Oh, it was a PG-13, wasn't it?
When I was a kid, and my mom thought it looked too scary. I didn't get to see it in the theater. Never forgave her for it. And it was a big deal that when Lost World came out, I got to watch that in the theater, and then it wasn't nearly as good.
No, I skipped out on that one in the cinema.
So anyway, we're going to get into it, and it's going to be interesting talking about this post-Jurassic World, having seen it. Originally, we had planned on doing this a couple weeks ago before Jurassic World came out, but now we'll have it. We'll be able to watch it and talk about it with that in the back of our minds as well. And we won't sit here and review Jurassic World, but I'm sure there will be interesting things that will pop up and give us more to talk about.
Yeah, I think there'll be things, bits we can sort of reflect on.
All right, well, everybody, let's go ahead and get started. Please press play right now.
So as you were saying, you didn't see it in the cinema, but in the UK it was a PG. So children go see it, but it came with a warning. All the posters would be like children of a younger age it may not be suitable for. So as far as I'm aware, I don't think they made any edits to sort of give it that rating, because a PG-13 at the time would be essentially be a 12 or possibly on borderline 15 rating. But yeah, I saw it, in the summer of '93, queuing up in the rain with some friends, and I was blown away. It was such a crazy, it's such a crazy kind of early '90s period where everyone was obsessed with dinosaurs, and it was before, I think even before the film came out, there's sort of a rumbling going on that, there was Super Mario Brothers the movie, there was that Dinosaurs TV show, there was things in cartoons. I think wasn't Dinosaurs and Cadillacs around the same time? There's always everything dinosaur related was happening, and then Jurassic Park came out at that boiling point. It all just popped, and everyone went dino crazy.
And it was just the right time, and I think a lot of the reason it was such a big deal too was because you couldn't have made this movie before then.
Oh no, because they were going to do it with stop motion, animation with Phil Tippett, who stayed on the production to sort of help with the animation of the dinosaurs in CG form, and kind of they had like these animatronics that would simulate what was going on within the computer to make it kind of the transition work smoother. But yeah, as I said, it was going to be in stop motion. I don't think the movie would have been fondly remembered if it was in stop motion. I don't think it would have had the impact at all.
Boy, how different would the world be? And we say this with so much stuff, right? Like, what if Lucas had shot his original Star Wars script? What would the world look like? What would the world be like as far as cinema goes if this movie had been made with stop motion? If it had been more of a Harryhausen thing?
It would have been, yeah. It would have been the sort of the quality of level that we saw in RoboCop with Ed 209. It would have had that smoothness to it, but it was still, because Ed 209 could have got away with it because it's a robot. but these are living, breathing animals. So
yeah, and also with that, there was something kind of charming about it, partly because of the satire and stuff. And I don't know that this would have had the same thing. I guess it would depend on how you approached it. The approach would have had to have been different. Because the part of the point of this movie was, hey, look, we can make it look real, and what if dinosaurs were really, here now, and we could bring them back? And I just feel like you almost would have even needed a different premise, or at least approach the premise differently.
Oh yeah, certainly. I mean, I think if they'd still gone with stop motion, they probably would have had a lot of the scenes with the dinosaurs, kind of hidden behind things, or at night time to sort of hide the rough edges.
Yeah, if you took it seriously, you'd want to shoot it like Alien.
Yeah, you would have. You would have done. I mean, they would have actually probably relied more heavily on the animatronics side with Stan Winston's team, which, by the way, if Stan Winston's team didn't deliver the goods, I don't think it would have been that successful. I mean, you've got the amazing CG, but once you get close to the dinosaurs, that's where they become, that realistic.
Well, that's what everybody remembers, is that they were animatronic and that they're really there, and you get obviously better performances from your actors that way. I always forget that, and of course, you're such a production guy, Oliver. I always forget that this movie had CGI in it.
You forgot?
I always kind of forget that. Yeah, well, until I watch it again, and I'm like, oh yeah, that had to have been CG. But like, I always think of it as an animatronic film.
Well, if you count the number of CG shots within the film, they're actually quite limited. It's not that. It's not. It doesn't use it heavily. I mean, it's only kind of for the more kind of the wider shots where you've got the dinosaur doing more things. But during the course of the movie, as the viewers will know, it's like that the CGI does become more prominent, and when the T-Rex kills the raptors at the end, they're being far more kind of daring with their shots. You've got, they do a huge close up on the T-Rex as he throws the raptor, so in the CG form. So they've certainly got better as the months progressed on the production. But as you say, yeah, I mean, there is actually a small amount in comparison to say what we saw in The Lost World and Jurassic Park, and obviously Jurassic World, where the amount of animatronics is very small. I think the only bit I remember in Jurassic World being animatronic was the kind of the Brachiosaurus lying on the grass, after being attacked by the new T-Rex, as it were.
Yeah, I mean, like, you get really close to stuff. Even the velociraptors that are in their, their like skeletal cage thingies.
Yeah.
Have to be in CG.
Well, the weird thing is, I saw someone shared a link to me about the animatronics on Jurassic World, and the bits where the raptors are in, those little cages with their heads, tightened up, they were animatronics.
Whoa, were they really?
Yeah.
Did they add any CG in post? They would have had to.
I think they've added the eyes bits to make them look more kind of fluid and.
That's what I thought.
Quicker.
That's cool.
Yeah, that's mental, isn't it? Yeah, I thought it was really cool. I just didn't know. I was like,
I didn't think so. I thought that whole thing was probably fabricated after the fact. Okay, that's cool. Once again, we don't want to just sit here and talk about world.
No.
That was cool. Is it weird to you that we now have, out of 4, 2 Jurassic Park movies that both have the word world in them?
That is true. Yeah, that is a bit strange. Yeah.
I don't know. I just think that's kind of. But no, you're right. We were all, just going back to what you were talking about earlier. We were all so dinosaur crazy at the early '90s. This is one of those lightning in a bottle kind of moments where it was just the right time for everything. It was the right time to make the effects, to not just make the effects work, but to innovate. And it was the right time for kids.
Oh yeah, well, certainly. I mean, kids are, when they're younger, the most impressionable, and what a great way for them to sort of learn about the past is through dinosaurs. And the weird thing is, in terms of the craze going on, I always kind of thought to myself, there must have been something at the time more like scientific discoveries, because obviously the book was very successful in 1990.
Yeah.
So maybe that kind of spurred on people's interest.
Maybe Crichton himself had a lot to do with it.
Yeah. I mean, the Jurassic Park has got a reworking of his previous work, which was on Westworld in the 70s, where you got this.
Oh, that's right. I forgot about that.
You got the theme park that goes all wrong, but I think Jurassic World has more in relation to that now.
See, now you got me wanting to go back and read that book. That's cool.
It's also a very good film as well, so you need to revisit that as well.
Yeah, we'll do.
But the weird thing is, a lot of the characters in the film are changed heavily from the book.
Right.
I mean, the whole script's kind of been tailor made for Steven Spielberg. it's to fit all his personality traits or how he directs, and the sort of I suppose you could say sort of cliche characters you would expect from his kind of big summer movies. But it's all so tight and it works so well. It'd be difficult to change it. Maybe if they, I don't think they ever will, but if they ever had to remake Jurassic Park, it'd be good. It'd be interesting to see if they actually did a straight remake of the book. Just kind of stuck close to the original novel, and because that was far more graphic and far more darker.
Well, and not only that, but it had a lot of suspense elements, but it was much more of a character-driven science fiction piece. It would be much more of my kind of movie because it wouldn't be so action-driven.
I think yeah. Now we'd probably say that because we're both adults, but as a kid, we probably this is what we want. This is.
Oh no, that's absolutely
this is
you're
perfect
absolutely
candy
right
for kids. This film.
No, that's true, and I mean, like, obviously the skeleton, what's really behind this and driving it is the social commentary that was at the crux of that novel. And it's been years since I've looked at that book, and I read it when I was a kid. I don't think I ever finished it, and I kind of wish we had my wife here with us, Sarah, because she's a huge fan of the book.
Oh, really?
And knows it really well, and has all of a sudden become a giant Jurassic Park fan after reading that book. Likes these movies a lot more now because of that, which is weird because it's different enough that I thought it might make her like the films less.
Well, yeah, I thought maybe did she ever express her feelings on the changes made from the book? Did she think the film was kind of not as good as the book?
Yeah, to a degree, but I think she recognizes once again that it being an action film and kind of a suspense thriller thing, and being obviously just 2 hours, that some of that characterization you just don't have time for, and that's true of so much.
Yeah.
When we adapt book to movie, it's such a cliche now to say the movie isn't as good as the book, because it usually isn't, because novels just give you a lot more room to explore characters, and stories are about characters. So what we have here is kind of the bare bones of those characters, but then certain ones I think are more interesting than others and maintain more of that. And from what Sarah's described, and again, I need to go back and read the book, but from what Sarah's described of Hammond, he seems actually, I kind of like what they did with him here more than what she describes in the book.
Oh, in the book, he's very cold and heartless. He's very much about the money, and he's like an evil Walt Disney. Where this one's kind of a very heartwarming person who's very understanding, but kind of naive in a way.
This one is Walt Disney if Walt Disney had genetic scientists working for him.
Yeah.
And talking about how dangerous a thing that is, and playing God and messing with science when you don't understand it, is a problem. But I think Hammond is such a charming and endearing character in this.
Oh, I think he's the heart of the film. I mean, he holds it all together. I mean, it's Attenborough kind of makes the film so appealing to me. It's his kind of fascination with the dinosaurs, but also that childish nature to him, which also makes him.
Yeah.
He's also got that sort of great fatherly figure with his personality. I mean, just like his brother, does all the BBC documentaries. It's his voice as well, which it captivates you, and you start listening to everything he says as soon as he opens his mouth. Without, if it wasn't him, I don't know who else they could have cast that would have done a decent job.
Yeah, you're right.
No, you've got Sam Neill, who was great actor, but in comparison to John Hammond, it's difficult to top him.
Yeah, Grant's a guy that he does a good job, but I feel like 20 different actors could have played that part. Hammond is not that way, and how easy would it have been to just make this in another evil corporate message kind of movie? And that guy is surprisingly sympathetic. I mean, like, you really kind of feel for him when his park doesn't work.
Oh, sure. I mean, yeah, but as the film progresses, when he tells you about his past and about the circus thing he had with all the fleas and things like that, he talks about. But you obviously can't see the fleas; it's all imagination. But the kids could see it, as he says. But it's that passion and heart in it that's reflected upon what he's made.
Yeah, and I mean, he makes this giant mistake in his attempt at making people happy, but you kind of feel for him and understand that mistake because his heart's in the right place. And he has that great line that we'll get to in 15, 20 minutes where he says that he understands people's mistakes, but he just expects them to pay for them.
Oh.
And then you get to the end of the movie, and he does that very thing. And I love that he's consistent and not hypocritical about it. As soon as he realizes that Ian Malcolm was wrong or was right, and he was wrong, he says it's over.
Yeah, because Malcolm,
That's what I don't like about Hammond in the sequels. That like later on he seems to have gone back on that and he'd like this to work again. I don't buy that from this character. I feel like after this movie he would never go back to this.
It's very hard to say. Obviously he makes a sort of cameo in number 2 where he's got another island, but it's another experiment for him. But it's kind of not really going to benefit him to a certain degree because it's not like another park he can finance and let people see these things. But I suppose he's come to realize that these animals should be left alone and let nature take its course.
Well, that's what. But I guess I'm mostly talking about World because then you got that whole dying wish line, and I don't know how I feel about that.
Yeah. I mean, that's
just saying. I kind of figure, and I mean all the stuff in that movie about the park making people feel small and understanding that they can't control nature and they need to have respect for it. I appreciate that, but I don't know if that guy would have gotten there with the dinosaurs that he genetically engineered.
It's a whole PR stunt on his behalf, isn't it? In number 2.
Yeah, I don't know about that.
I always love the little contraption they've created to put all the dino embryos in. It's so clever.
It is really cool. And did you see the commercial for there's this I don't know what company it is. There's this like aftershave company that did a tie-in with Jurassic World.
Oh, did they?
Yeah, and they showed the footage from the first movie of the canister being rained on.
Oh, right.
And they did this tie-in thing, and they were selling aftershave. Isn't that great?
That's kind of like the spoiler, isn't it? I suppose
I think that's the yeah, but from a movie 22 years ago.
That's mad. There's a huge.
But I thought that was one of the cleverest tie-ins ever. The only thing cleverer than that I've ever seen for merchandising tie-in is the Watchmen Dr. Manhattan condoms.
Oh my god.
I mean, that's nuts, but super clever.
Universal got over 100 companies to sort of, take part in the merchandising. You always get the regulars. You've always got McDonald's getting involved. You've always got soft drinks getting involved. You've got the toys, and then that's the thing about Jurassic Park is this how when you see in the movie, when you see the merchandise room in the visitors center. All those stuff you could actually probably buy at the time, like,
a lot of it, yeah.
It's crazy, It's
yeah. This movie, and again, World has this too. There's a lot of kind of art imitating life imitating art stuff going on. We've got this giant merchandising juggernaut, and we're making a movie about a giant merchandising juggernaut that goes wrong.
Yeah. See, when you were a kid, when you saw the film on TV, like say it's being advertised. Now, there was always a number of clips they showed of the dinosaurs because they were very clever with their marketing. They didn't show you much at all, which kind of left, which teased people even more. Of course, nowadays they're more than happy to show you like 5-6 trailers and they've given away everything.
Well, and with World, that's kind of fun because then they make art imitating life. They've got that line in that movie of nobody's impressed with dinosaurs anymore.
Well, yeah, it's a great joke within the film.
Isn't that great?
So
you can have commercials and show everything, and it makes perfect sense.
Which I swear some people didn't get. They would have went on and on. But yeah, I don't want to moan about Jurassic World.
Yeah, sure.
But,
sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, saying it was the trailers. At the time as a kid, all you'd ever see was like the T-Rex's foot. You'd see the Brachiosaurus, a little bit of it, but that would be kind of it. And
no, they sold the movie a lot on footprints.
They did, yeah. And there's people reacting to stuff. You're like, what is it? What are they seeing?
Yeah, it's easy to take it for granted now because of course we all grew up with this movie and there were 15 different video games and we saw the designs of this stuff constantly. But at the time, when they land and they finally see the brontosauruses and stuff, it was a big deal.
Oh yeah, I mean, whenever on TV as a kid, you'd see something about these new films, and they talk about, because computer generated effects was like the next big thing. There's always been discussed on TV, and
That's right.
obviously after Jurassic Park, it did become like a you know film directors, studios kind of abused technology, and you can look back at films now in the mid 90s and go, oh, that CGI is really poo. But at the time when they discussed CG, it was always Jurassic Park. You had Terminator 2.
Terminator 2.
You always see the same bits on TV where the T-1000 walks out of the flames, and goes and melts, turns back into Robert Patrick. But it's always just, as a kid, my memory is just seeing the same bits over and over again, and then seeing the film was such a huge experience, because you've only seen small snippets, and suddenly this ginormous T-Rex bursting out of the fence, and just like, oh my god, your jaw just drops, because
Well, and I think we should also remember how big of a leap forward it felt with computer animation, because Toy Story was a year after this. So I mean, like,
well, Toy Story, that was 95, wasn't it?
Or was it 2 years after?
Yeah,
So we were freaking out about those token moments, right? And then you had Abyss right before Terminator 2, which is why they were able to do a lot of that. Yeah. And you'd see those little bits, and that was, and then suddenly we have a whole movie of it.
That's right.
Just right then. It was a big deal. You know what else was a big deal, Oliver?
What's that?
The toys, man.
Yeah, I had a few of them. I'm sure I had like a raptor, and like that. There was a figure of Wayne Knight's character, the Nedry, but he wasn't. Yeah. But he wasn't the overweight character. He was actually quite slim. The action figure was. He looked nothing like his character. So stupid. But
I didn't remember that. But I'll tell you, my wife and I just got Lego Jurassic World.
Oh, is that any good? I've not played that yet.
It's a lot of fun, and we just I've only been through the Jurassic Park section, but we just finished the Jurassic Park portion of it, and they just could not make him look overweight enough in Lego form.
Oh.
Because I figured they would try to make like a slightly bigger minifig, but I guess minifigs are always the same size unless they're like monster characters. So they draw like a punch on him, but the actual figure isn't really any bigger. It was hilarious.
Fantastic.
Oh, and also Dennis Nedry in that offers. I should probably wait till we get to that scene, but he instead of a candy bar or whatever, he offers the dinosaur that shoots him in the face a chicken drumstick.
Does he?
It's pretty funny.
Now, obviously, this moment coming up now, when they sort of see the Brachiosaurus for the first time, this was, as I say, this whole sequence was always on TV every time I saw it. But when they turn around and the John Williams theme just kicks in, it always just makes me well up, because it's so awe-inspiring. Just with the music added, it's probably, I'd probably put it as John Williams' last kind of big. The biggest sort of theme tune for a film. I mean, also we had like, it's other amazing scores. I mean, the Phantom Menace had the sort of is it Duel of the Fates? That was a great piece of music. Because also they even released that as a single. But this was probably like, in terms of like, because in terms of themes, theme tunes he's created, this is probably the last big theme tune I think he ever did. I mean, he did Harry Potter, but I don't think the Harry Potter theme was as strong as this.
No, it's good, but you're right. I don't think it even gets close to this. What's sorry, you mentioned like three things I wanted to respond to.
Sure. Yeah, carry on.
With regards to the John Williams theme, and I guess you and I, the big thing that holds the movies we talk about together is just John Williams. I guess all we do is John Williams things now. But I'm kidding. We've mostly done Superman. But But it's similar to Superman in that it's another one of those themes that has two separate themes, but you remember them both equally, and they're played together all the time.
Yes. That's true.
And Superman had exactly that, and it's kind of interesting that he kind of went back to that. Because Star Wars doesn't have that. Star Wars has like the main fanfare, and it's got a bridge, but then it's got like 2 or 3 other songs that are there for different things. You know, where you've got like the theme that you usually hear when you're walking on Tatooine, and you have Vader's theme.
Yeah.
But then Superman has a theme that's kind of 2 different tunes, and this has that too.
Yes, because he kind of weaves them together to make one
Yeah.
theme, where Star Wars is kind of broken up into many different themes. I mean, at the end titles for the Star Wars films, you've got those other themes within there, but they kind of you can hear the change into the next theme. It becomes something else.
Yeah, and they're also there for to represent something specifically, or to underlay something specifically. This and Superman didn't have that.
Oh no,
and
no.
And I always thought that was a really fascinating approach. And when I was a kid, I noticed it and always wondered why he approached it like that.
No, that's good question.
And then the other thing I wanted to mention was Roger Ebert, when he reviewed this, said that that he felt there wasn't nearly enough of a sense of awe and wonder, and I don't know what he was talking about.
Well, with my critique on it, it was the sense of awe and wonder is kind of pushed at the beginning, and then it kind of, once you've had the introduction of the T-Rex, it does dial it back a bit. You don't see that many shots of more of the dinosaurs. I mean, you've got the great shot where he's in the trees, you've got the Brachiosauruses all come up, and you've got that great shot because he's trying to call to them, isn't he? Trying to communicate with them. That's a great kind of iconic shot. But I suppose it does become a smaller movie near the end. It's all kind of essentially centered around.
That's true. I thought what he was talking about, and I would have to read his review again, was that the characters didn't seem as wowed and freaked out through enough of the movie after they saw dinosaurs, and I just don't know if I agree with that.
I suppose in reality, you'd be, even in the visitor center, you'd be like just shaking, or just be like, "What have I just seen? Oh my god! Oh my god! I need some alcohol, quick! I need to calm down."
Yeah, that's true, and I'm mostly bringing this up because I don't get to criticize Roger Ebert very much. I usually agreed with him, but that was the thing that I wondered if he was totally right about, especially because importantly, everybody except for the paleontologist knows what they're going to see, and I think people forget that. They're not sure if it will look as real as or if he really pulled it off. But they like Ian Malcolm and the lawyer guy, like they know what's supposed to be on that island. And I think people forget that. I had an argument about that with my wife just today, where she's like, "Oh, they didn't know." I'm like, "No, they knew."
I love the moment
from the beginning.
I always kind of, for some reason, when Alan Grant, he sees their bred a raptor. And he's like,
"Yeah,
you've bred raptors." He's shocked. I just suddenly think of like Al Gore. He's like, "You've bred a man bear pig." It's just, it's like kind of like he's always obsessed, and he should know what he's holding at this point. This is a raptor. Oh yeah, I should know this. But he's a bit shocked by it all, and he's always on the edge, isn't he? Edge of his seat, essentially, for the rest of the film, because he doesn't know what to expect.
And that's the thing, is that he and she are the characters that should. He and Ellie, they're the characters that should have that. And of course, the kids have it too.
Would you say, in regards to the sense of awe by Roger Ebert, his criticism of it was because he's an adult looking at it at the time, but we were kids, so it's a different thing. I mean, it's funny because.
Well, I also feel like human beings are adaptable to a degree more than a degree. Like, we're pretty adaptable creatures, right? So like you're right. When you first saw that, you would kind of freak out. But we have to remember that we are kind of skipping some chunks to get to the meat of the story, right?
Well, yeah, this whole scene here with the DNA strand and the explanation is so much more detailed in the book, and they've shrunk it down to this kind of really easy to follow animated sequence, which makes it very digestible for children as well. Because Spielberg knows what he's doing. It's a family film. It's a summer film. They need to make money. They need to make this kind of work and explain it simply. Yeah,
that's right. The exposition has to make sense, but it also can't bog it down to it. And that's always been my problem with Crichton, is that he's got a little bit of that. I can't think of.
Well, a lot of the work that's been changed by David Koepp, who I think is a bit hit and miss as a screenplay writer. I mean,
Yeah.
he knows he's one of the wealthiest, I think, in the business. Because he always, if you see his list of movies he's done, I mean, they're never, the scripts are never amazing. They're good. They do their job at the time, but
Yeah.
they come under scrutiny so easily.
Well, and I think it's important to note that this is not a genius script. There's some great lines, and the social commentary is there to a degree, but what's really driving it is the special effects
What
and
is
some of the choices in action.
it's a B
and the
movie.
suspense.
It's a very small B movie with this, surrounded by this kind of glorious, wondrous CG. But if you take that all away from it, what else have you got to it?
Well, I will disagree with you to a degree and say that it is elevated a little bit by some somewhat better characterizations than you get in most B thrillers.
Oh, well, certainly. I mean, I'm not saying in terms of like it's a B movie, it's kind of cheap. You've got these kind of bad actors, bad dialogue, but it's the B movie mentality idea where you've got this kind of wacky sort of you create a park by bio.
This premise,
It's
yeah.
premise exactly.
Yeah. Where it's mostly an excuse for people to get eaten, and wouldn't it almost be more interesting if we actually got to experience the park longer? Which is the reason that I thought Jurassic World was such a cool idea. Was that you actually get to go there and see it working, and it didn't go on long enough for my taste. But I could have that could have been 3 hours for me. I wanted to explore that
Oh,
part.
definitely me as well as a kid, because I always wanted to know more about the visitor centre, but with all different areas, and
Yeah.
it's all just kind of whips along quite quickly, and it's all it's not obviously open. It's all in the beginning. Well, not it's nearly on the verge of being opening. So I also felt like the whole place was kind of understaffed. You know what I mean? I didn't.
Yeah.
I always thought there'd be a lot more people there, but their way of security is just like have electric fences everywhere. We've got a couple of shotguns in the back, and we've got a warden.
Well, importantly, they probably would have a little bit more. Well, who knows? Would they have more security when there were actually people there?
Yeah, that's a completely fair argument. But
I would assume that. Sorry, real quick, I want to say because I just didn't get to get it out earlier. It was that my deal with Crichton was always that he had that Moby Dick thing where he would like stop the narrative for like 50 pages to explain science to you.
Oh yeah. That was I've seen kind of people kind of criticize that online. I was like, yeah, I'm quite well aware of that. Yeah.
So this movie goes a little bit too far in the other direction, but that's because it's a suspense thriller before it's a science fiction. Let's really explore this idea kind of thing.
Well,
and thank God for Ian Malcolm, because some of those great ideas from the novel would not be in this movie if he wasn't put together right.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, once the T-Rex is kind of introduced, the science behind the movie is kind of just really pushed aside. I mean, you get another moment of kind of discussing the evolution of the dinosaurs and how they're breeding when Alan Grant finds the eggs, but I don't think there's any kind of more solid chunks of science within it. It just becomes a survival, action movie to a certain degree.
Boy, Wu sure feels a lot younger now than he ever used to, doesn't
he? Yeah. He still looks the same, doesn't he? A little bit. It's a bit more grey hair he has now.
Yeah. I think he's maybe put on a couple
great
pounds.
He returned. I mean, in the book he dies, so they've changed quite a bit,
That's so it's so cool that that he's kind of the thing that links them together, and I didn't expect any characters from the original to be in that movie.
No, not at all. I mean, would it have been great if Sam Neill just turned up, just to save the day. I'd be like,
or if he showed up. You know what I wanted? I wanted to see Ian Malcolm sitting in front of a TV for a really quick shot right at the end and said, "See, I told you so." See, this was never gonna work. It opened that park. So Oliver, we broke up and had an issue. We're back, so I gotta say this again so Oliver can hear me say this. I thought it would have been great in Jurassic World if Ian Malcolm at the end of the movie just popped up for 5 seconds, like in his apartment or something, watching TV, and saw what happened on the news and was like, "See, I told you so."
Well, yeah. I mean, the weird thing is though, with The Lost World, and when they brought him back because he was so popular, his character was so different than what we saw in the first film.
Entirely out. He was still kind of sarcastic.
Yeah, he was a little bit, but he wasn't really as funny as he was, and he was just kind of a bit of a irritating parent, But there you go.
Everybody always said that Grant would have made more sense in that movie with that very story, and I think that's probably true.
That's kind of why. Oh, I don't know. I got a little bit of heat for when I reviewed Lost World that I kind of preferred number three. Purely because because Sam Neill returns, which is great. The film's got more action, despite the ending being utter tripe, and the supporting characters being total bozos. I found it more enjoyable. But Sam Neill was kind of a stronger character, because he was the guy who was a dino expert, and if he'd made like a welcome return in Jurassic World, I would have been very happy.
Yeah, me too. My big thing with Jurassic Park 3 is it's so short.
Oh yeah, yeah. Because when the ending kicks in, it's like, what? Did I just miss something? It's.
It feels like a one last hurrah kind of movie, where it's like we gotta. We don't think all that many people are probably gonna actually come see this movie, but we want to milk it just a little more, one more time.
Oh, it shows in the storytelling they didn't know really what to do with it because they had no book to work off. And same with Jurassic World, they had no book to kind of be inspired from. But it took so long for that film to come out, so it took them a long time to think of something. And David Koepp, who wrote the screenplay to 1 and 2, he couldn't think of an idea for the fourth film. So it was a struggle to get it made.
The problem with doing more of Jurassic Park is that the initial concept is so much fun and so potentially fascinating that once you don't have a park, I stop caring.
Well, yeah, 'cause it just ends up being people running away from dinosaurs. But
Yeah.
in that argument though, that's what people may want to see. These are monster movies.
Yeah, but the issue I have, though, a lot of the time is, do we need to be in this world with that premise to tell other stories? And I think that a lot of the problem is that Jurassic Park has never, for people, been about the characters. It's always been about, just as you said, running away from dinosaurs, which is why I kind of appreciated that Jurassic World had some characters I felt like I could see my teeth into, no pun intended, a little bit more than I could even with this one. Although, like I said, I love Ian Malcolm.
Sure.
That's
the thing we've all got a lot of these kind of because the dinosaurs, they're not they're animals, they're not going to talk, so you have to have
right.
interesting characters around them.
It cracks me up when you get to the end of Jurassic World and it says based on characters by Michael Crichton. I'm like, well, sort of based on dinosaurs by Michael Crichton, really? And then like the one guy that died in his first book, that's about it, and Dead Hammond.
Yeah,
that's about it. But I don't know. I mean, like when I reviewed Jurassic World, did a non-spoiler thing. I said there's really no reason after that movie to make any more. And they will because it made so much money. And I guess there was always a plan to make more. And then I had a lot of commenters that were like, "Oh, well, obviously they set it up for a sequel." I'm like, no, I get that they're set up for it. My point is, there's no point to make anymore. And hopefully I'm proven wrong and there's a really cool story to tell. But my whole thing is, Oliver, do you need Jurassic Park to get dinosaurs or something like that, like a military movie where we're using them to, as weapons? Like, do we need this premise to get to that premise? Can you just make that movie?
If you made a Jurassic Park movie where they're kind of used as weapons, and it would be, I don't know, the sort of sense of realism, it would become more sort of farcical, a bit like a comic book. It would become Cadillacs and dinosaurs to a certain degree. I don't know.
I mean, maybe there's a great movie there. I'm just saying we get so far past the premise. I don't know that I'm so excited about it.
I wouldn't say no to a follow up, but it just seems like, I don't know. Is there a story worth telling? I don't think so. I mean, Spielberg probably has some control over these to a certain degree. I don't think.
I wondered that.
I don't think he'd really want to push for another one. But if Universal have all the rights to it to a certain degree, where they can pursue more, I'm sure they'll be more than happy to capitalize on that. With the money it's made, and people still want to see it.
I feel like when you break all the records, there's inevitably going to be a sequel. And also, I've heard people say that it was always planned as a trilogy. Now, I don't know where that comes from.
I've never read that. I mean, the director of the new one, I think he has said he's not going to return for another one, which is very smart of him to do. I think he's made his money. He's done his big budget film, and he's proved that he can do it, and he can find another line of work in terms of to another film. But if I was in his shoes, I'd be like, where else can we go? If they've already planned out this, like a treatment already of what happens in part 2 and 3, or essentially 5 and 6,
Yeah.
Um,
I just feel like World was such a good last hurrah movie.
oh,
And I know I
definitely,
said that
definitely.
3 sort of was like that, and it just in the way they marketed it and the reason they put it out. But World, it was like let's actually do it this time. And I just feel like if you end that movie the way they ended it, it's a much better movie probably if you never make any more. And if you were gonna make more, and I guess there's spoilers for that movie, but if you were gonna make more, let's leave the park open at the end. Let's subvert expectations and actually come up with a way to keep it open.
Oh, sure, sure. I mean,
But anyway, I'm sorry.
What do you think of the characters, Lex and Tim? Do you think they're sort of strong enough sort of characters to sort of for a younger audience? Do you think there's with parallels with the new film? Do you think they're kind of better in a way?
Yeah, I do think the new kids are better. I thought the actors were fantastic, and I found them more likable. These kids are okay, and I guess part of the problem is it's hard for me to be as critical as I feel like I ought to be because I'm just so used to the movie. You know what I mean? There's a certain adjustment that happens when you've seen a movie a lot and you really like it. But yeah, I mean, I there's a little bit of typical irritating '90s kids thing. I think honestly for me, it's always been less the kids are irritating and more the interaction with the adults with them is kind of annoying. To a degree.
I find the kid Tim to be I don't know. I quite like his things where he's always kind of irritating Alan Grant because he's obviously not fond of kids, but a sort of great story arc of him where he becomes like a short term father figure to them. I love where he just kind of he becomes more playful with them, but he's clearly irritated by him. I love those little moments. Spielberg's so good at kind of directing children, and I mean the character Lex, she's because of the changes to the novel, she's by the end, when she becomes this sort of computer programmer, they throw in that little line of dialogue. She's she goes, I'm a hacker or whatever. It's like that is really bad because you get no get no sense she can do that, but just throw a little bit of dialogue in. It's just like someone just throwing in a little bit of dialogue saying, "Oh, I'm Batman." You go, well, wait a minute.
Like when did that happen?
Yeah.
It's like we said with Man of Steel. We can buy Superman killing at the end, but you should rewrite the rest of the movie to match.
Yeah.
And yeah. So like she doesn't seem like a super genius.
Oh no!
And then all of a sudden she's kind of a super genius. Okay.
Yeah, that is it's it's schlocky kind of like Hollywood storytelling. It gets away with it, but it's even as a kid, I was like, no, I don't buy that. I do not believe that.
Yeah, that's the problem with a thing like this is that it's a little bit awkward. It gets away with it because that's not why you're here. You know what I mean? Like the character stuff isn't the point, and so you tend to not mind as much this kind of typical stuff. I will agree with you that by the end, that kid and Grant, there's kind of a warm thing there. I think that's more in their dynamic as actors than it is in the script.
Oh yeah. Well, this is all kind of changed from the book. So,
but like the whole Grant's whole like I don't like kids, they smell and stuff. I don't know that I never liked that.
Oh yeah, because he's an adult. You go, yeah, of course, kids smell. So do adults.
Yeah, I'm just saying that always struck me as a little bit too typical.
Yeah.
Maybe there should be more of a character reason for why he doesn't.
Yeah,
like
it's not strong enough dialogue. Really.
We're just throwing in in characterization. We're just throwing in some kind of quirky, irritating thing for him so that we can kind of laugh at him a little bit.
Yeah.
And we use that for some comic relief, but also to add a different kind of conflict so that the conflict isn't all just dinosaurs chasing people. I guess it's kind of nice that we don't have to sit through some kind of like really blatantly obvious romance in this.
Oh no, not at all. And the romance is already there between Grant and what's her name again? Sorry,
Ellie.
Ellie, sorry, yeah.
Yeah, and that's kind of nice.
Yeah, and it's also, it also implies they've kind of been together for a while, so they're already kind of thinking about having children, but he's obviously still on the fence about it.
And once again, let me mention, because I said earlier, it's hard to be critical, and now suddenly I'm being very critical of that whole thing. But when you get to the end, Brand is really charming with those kids. And the whole bit with the way they work together to deal with the Raptors, I really like. I like how he handles the kids on the fence. Although when we get there, there's some silly with the fence, but I do like a little bit of.
He calls Tim like a human piece of toast. I love all that. It shows that he's actually a really good dad. He's got that instinct in him. I love all that stuff. I mean, that's Sam Neill doing that. He can.
Although I will say that, yeah, you're right. Although I will say that this is not the right situation to make a couple of kids think you're actually being electrocuted.
Oh mate, I would do that. Most certainly.
Would you really? Oh, okay, all right. I question that.
Well, this is the line you were saying earlier. When you mentioned, what was it? He makes people pay for their mistakes, doesn't he, or something like that?
Right. Yeah. I think that's a key line of dialogue.
And Nedry's like, "Thanks, Dad."
Yeah. Well, and then we see what happens to him. Nedry is a weird character, because he feels his role feels a little bit forced, in making all of this stuff come together. My wife and I have had conversations about this. We have two questions. One of them is, why would he choose this weekend?
Yeah, of all times to go. No,
to do this. This seems like the worst possible time. So we've got people in the park, and that's when I'm going to try to steal embryos. I don't know about that. The second thing is, this guy is full time. Like, he actually works there all the time. I always found that kind of surprising that he doesn't just go. And I guess some of that is, I think in the book he just flies back and forth too.
Well, yeah, because I'm sure most people kind of leave the island at the end of the day or at the weekend, but it's also kind of, it's never explained what sort of financial problems he's in. Either he's either he's kind of like a gambler maybe, or he's misspent his money in the past, bad credit, things like that. But he must have, to be on this island, he must have pretty good pay. So
yeah, I thought that too. Like when Hammond's like, you've got financial difficulties, that's not my problem. I'm like, well, it is if you're not paying him enough. But then I'm like, spare no expense.
Exactly. Or maybe not with the staff. He's on 0-hour contracts, maybe.
These people have got to be being paid okay for what, especially the risk that they would be taking.
Yeah.
To work in a park filled with dinosaurs.
But it's also when it goes back to the argument of, the site not having enough staff. They appear to have 2 people programming, but there's always kind of one or 2 staff members kind of walking back and forth in the background in some of the shots. So that would imply there's probably more people on the IT department, but it just seems like such an elaborate system with only 2 guys doing it.
This line here where she says, when woman inherits the earth, that dates this pretty hard.
I always like the bit when the girl goes, they gonna eat the girl, and he's like, excellent.
Yeah, it's sort of like that Batman Returns thing. When Catwoman's like, how could you? I'm a woman, and the Batman actually falls for it, and then she throws him over the roof.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Oh, I'm sorry. I don't know. That dates it just a little bit. It's much better to just let strong female characters be strong female characters and not actually talk about it. That's all I'm saying.
Did you get a chance to play the video games as a kid?
Yeah, my favorite was the one on the Genesis where you could be the Raptor.
Yeah, I had that as well. I really enjoyed that game, even though it was quite hard actually as a kid. It was I always found it quite frustrating, sort of jumping around, and there'd be endless amounts of platforming.
It is relentless. It's really hard. And fitting that dinosaur through tubes and stuff.
Yeah.
was obnoxious, but I love the atmosphere of that game, and I have not confirmed this, so I don't know if this is true, but one of my subscribers the other day claims that Michael Giacchino got his start doing the music for one of those games.
He did The Lost World on the PlayStation and the Sega Saturn.
Yeah,
so that was done. Yeah,
and then he got the job for World. That's fascinating.
Yeah.
Full circle.
There's a lot of composers out there actually do music, obviously, for video games as well. And because video games have become more kind of cinematic, so they can require, film composers to sort of take on that challenge. But it's mental that he started out doing the Lost World video game, then going on to do the big film. So he's also kind of familiar with the themes and things like that. But he's probably one of the rare composers out there who's still doing that kind of John Williams style of composing, where it's like we've been so bombarded for the last 10 years of Hans Zimmer style music and knockoffs of his music. There's constant, there's repetitive kind of beats and atmospheric music, where we've kind of lost the whole the traditional film score, where you've got these amazing big themes and sort of that can make you cry, they can make you laugh, can make you can do everything.
And they can also elevate a scene so that things feel a lot more epic than they would without it.
Oh, certainly. If you take away the score from Jurassic Park, it would be kind of nothing. I mean, there's spoofs online of Jurassic Park. You've got that great scene and someone's using a harmonica as doing the theme tune. It's hilarious.
Well, imagine the end of the movie with the banner that drops when dinosaurs inherit. Imagine that without sound.
Oh, it'd be rubbish.
Yeah, I mean, you've got to have that. I mean, it looks awesome.
I know. Yeah, it looks good, but
you've got to have that. Yeah. I want to mention that there's this scene where this is one of my favorite bits, by the way, in the whole movie, and here I am now talking to myself. That's chaos theory. But Ian Malcolm is telling Ellie about the butterfly effect, and I feel like this is an example where we have to dumb down characters a little bit for exposition for the audience. So she does that like whoosh over her head thing, like, I'm not understanding what you're saying about butterfly effect, and I'm like, I don't know, I feel like that's a kind of general concept that you probably would have heard of.
I don't. The film doesn't progress through the story by doing that. It just kind of expands his character a little bit more as they get to the next scene, and it's kind of, I don't know, kind of throwaway dialogue, which is it may be remnants of what was in Crichton's novel, where you say, the book kind of stops to give you this kind of science bit,
Well, I think the chaos theory thing is really important, though.
It adds to his kind of opinion on this sort of, why the park is there and his disagreement with it.
I do think you kind of have to have that. But
you're
I
not
don't know
happy
if you
with
have
her kind of reaction.
Yeah, I just don't know if you have to make her look a little bit. Maybe other people wouldn't agree with me when I say this, but I just feel like we kind of had to make her look a little bit dumber so that the audience wouldn't feel dumb if they didn't know what he was talking about.
Possibly, yeah. I mean, things you have to sort of change, in a cinematic way. You have to have kind of characters be, I don't know.
I'm just saying, I don't know.
You never have
it
one way. I mean, if all the characters are all strong, and then you've got one, I don't know. You don't want to have the audience trying to play catch up with everything. But yeah, I see what you mean. I always love it when.
And I mean, I know she's not a rocket scientist. I mean, I know she's a paleontologist, but still,
I think she probably have a good grasp of what you were saying, though.
Yeah, that's all I'm saying.
Yeah. But seeing that Triceratops, that was amazing as a kid. It just blew me away, because that's the first big kind of Stan Winston thing, the animatronic sort of puppet, and yet there's so many animators just controlling just their head, and it's so funny when you got this Triceratops is like really ill, and then Alan Grant's lying on its stomach, and it's as it's trying to breathe,
That's cool, and that's where some of the awe and wonder comes back a little bit.
Oh yeah, certainly.
Because here's a thing I never thought I'd get to do. Also, I meant to mention this in the previous scene. In Lego Jurassic World, when you're Ian Malcolm, if you let him just stand there for a while, he will pull out a glass of water and start doing that thing with his hand.
Oh, really?
goes down and he's trying to explain chaos theory.
Well,
Yeah, it's pretty
he
funny.
should just had him have his character just start talking to himself, But also, I suppose,
Yeah,
I suppose he probably is by pouring the water on his hand.
well, and also that might be irritating because it would probably be the same line every time.
No, that's true. Yeah. Like, shut up.
and here I am by myself, talking to myself.
That is certainly one big pile of poo.
Yeah, they have Lego dino droppings in Lego form in that game.
Can you build it? Can you build something out of it?
You dig through it.
I built a car out of poo.
So it would be very unusual these days, obviously, for Sam Jackson to be in a movie and have this minor of a role. Yeah.
Yes, almost certainly. Because you think that some people probably forget he's in it. Because
I tell you, about 5 years ago, I popped this back in and had forgotten he was in it, and it took me a couple of scenes before I realized it was him because he looks so young and he's wearing a mustache. And I was like, oh my god, that's Sam. And also, it's not Sam Jackson with an attitude, it's just
exactly.
He's
more cowardly in this. He's kind of a nervous wreck. That's why he's constantly chain smoking. And
that's a good point.
Pulp Fiction the following year made him a superstar, but you just you kind of forget he's in it, But
I think even going back this far, Sam Jackson just liked being in movies, man.
Yeah, he's in everything, isn't he?
He just likes being in movies. Yeah, he's probably like Jurassic Park. I gotta be part of that. I gotta get in on that action.
But also, he's a strong character within the film. But it's also, as soon as he leaves the visitors' park, he's already dead, and his scene is not. He's just kind of just thrown. He's a throwaway character. He's just another person to add to the list of deaths in the film.
You're right. I mean, he has important things to do, but I sort of feel like the moment you see him, he's one of the big expendable guys that's probably going to go.
Yeah. Well, that's what, if you watch if you've seen the Blu-ray documentaries, he kind of, and Sam Neill says, he's a smoker. He's going to die.
Yeah. Well, and there's also that unfortunate trend of he's the only black guy in the movie. He's probably going to die.
Yeah, unfortunately.
Yeah, I mean, I hate to say that and bring that up, but it's true so often, right?
Oh, yeah, yeah. It's the same. It's the same in horror films. It's the same in kind of even action films where they've got.
If there's only one African American man, he's probably going to die. There's people complain about that really hard with X-Men First Class. Where it's like really the one black X-Man is the one guy that dies. Okay.
Yeah, it's not really fair, is it? Really?
It's not. People did not like that, and also that guy was really cool.
Oh, exactly, he was cool, man. Yeah. Oh, it's just it's Hollywood.
Also, his power was evolving. He's the one guy that dies, and his power was being able to adapt. And he still died.
I love these old Apple Macs they're using in the film.
Yeah.
See, Apple Macs, not using PCs. My whole argument as a kid.
Well, everything ran on Apple when you were talking about that guy, like NASA was all Apple.
Well, yeah, but it's always generally in films they'll always be using Apple Macs, even today, because they always get the free Apple Macs, don't they? The crew do, but. But yeah,
actually, I don't even know if I'm right about that. I don't know if NASA runs on Apple. I don't know. I'm saying that. I'm not. I'm actually not confident in saying that.
They've probably got their own operating system. Who knows?
I know it's all really old still.
Really?
Oh yeah.
Oh god.
But anyway.
All floppy disks and zip drives. Oh, apparently, this is errors coming up now with the names of the dinosaurs. There's spelling mistakes. They're spelt Tyrannosaurus Rex wrong.
Did they really?
Yeah.
I never noticed that.
Look at in a minute. It will say Tyrannosaurus. I think it's spelt wrong. I think there's one R or one less R than there should be.
Do you also want to make the standard complaint of most of the dinosaurs in this aren't from the Jurassic period? Do you also want to do that?
I didn't go into that.
That seems blatant and obligatory, and one of us has to say that, I guess. So that's now been said. Ian Malcolm doesn't have is not so great with the family life, Oliver. He's always looking for a future ex Mrs. Malcolm.
He is indeed.
See, if you're that sarcastic all the time, you make for a really fun character to watch in a movie, but you might not have lasting relationships. Also, just feel like Sam Jackson doesn't look like an Arnold.
Well, it's well, that's his name, isn't it? Arnold, isn't it? But
Yeah,
he is called Ray as well, but they don't call him Ray because
really?
yeah, yeah.
Oh, okay. I didn't know that.
Wasn't it Arnold? It was something Arnold Ray something because he was the same name as no, it was what was it? I've forgotten now. Oh, my mind has gone blank.
Glad I brought that up.
It's late for me.
I guess it's. Oh, I guess Arnold is his last name.
Yeah,
He's Ray Arnold.
that's
Okay.
right. Yeah.
Okay. I didn't know that. Okay. Arnold just doesn't sound like a cool enough first name for Sam Jackson.
No, certainly not.
Hey, Arnold.
He has really chosen the worst time to escape.
Just the worst possible time.
Such an idiot.
We've got a monsoon going on.
What a complete slob. Anyway.
Yeah.
Everyone's just constantly paranoid about the Raptors because the Raptors are really the main villains of the film.
Yeah.
And the T-Rex is just, just hungry. I like all of them are, but he just kind of pops up now and again to sort of like, to do his thing. Because in the ending, they weren't going to have the T-Rex. The Raptors were going to be killed by all the bones of the T-Rex in the visitor center. But then obviously they thought, well, it's far more impressive to have the T-Rex come in at the end. Because the T-Rex originally was only going to appear during the bit when he attacks the Gallimimuses,
Okay.
But that would have been his last sort of shot.
Well, it would, and it's funny because it's kind of random that he just pops in right at the end there. I like how World handled that better, actually.
Well, if you, yeah, I mean, because
it's like, let's go get one.
They actually went out their way to get T-Rex, and you see him turn up and he does his thing. Or she, it's a girl, isn't it?
That's.
It is supposed to be the same T-Rex, isn't it?
Don't be like Vincent D'Onofrio. Don't be like, hey boy. I wondered that, and that was actually a big question I had in that movie was, are any of the dinosaurs we're seeing any of the same dinosaurs?
Well, yeah, because I thought
the original.
Well, I kind of thought to myself, oh, it may be the same one, but then people came forward when I reviewed the film saying it's got the same scratch marks on its neck from the raptors. Then some people said.
See, they show you the scratch marks, and I didn't know if that happened from the raptor or if it happened from fighting the new dinosaur because he had just fought it.
Yeah, it's hard. I mean,
when they showed it,
because a lot of people are kind of saying this after their first initial viewing, so it's hard to know unless you can actually have the film, pause it, see what it actually looks like. If the scratches are on the correct side of the neck, etc.
Yeah, well, they're definitely on the right side.
Right. Okay.
Because second viewing, I noticed it this time.
Okay. Good.
Yeah. Oh, Oliver, you didn't say the magic word.
Oh, damn. Didn't say the magic word.
Wait, Nedry was from Cambridge? I never noticed that line. Call Nedry's people in Cambridge. Oh, okay. Interesting.
You think he'd kind of know his way back to the East Dock, wouldn't he? But hey ho, you think he'd do it by memory?
But that whole bit where he spins the arrow always cracks me the heck up. I think Wayne Knight is a hilarious actor. I've always really liked him.
Oh, he's fantastic in Seinfeld, and he's great in Third Rock.
Yeah,
I love Third Rock. I actually started rewatching it recently again.
Does it hold up? I haven't seen that.
It's still really, really good. Just John Lithgow kind of holds it all together,
Yeah.
Because of his crazy performance. He's such a, eccentric personality.
He's a genius.
Oh, yeah. He's great at being a villain, but also very good at being sort of the good guy, just a sort of fatherly figure, which he's in Interstellar, And,
yeah, he's kind of one of the least typecast actors.
Oh yeah.
He's played a nice variety of different roles, and One of those guys that I think people started paying more attention to when he got older.
Definitely, definitely.
Some people get more distinguished with age, and I think he's one of those. Um, it's kind of fun going back to this and seeing all the technology that we thought was really, or that at the time was like really cutting edge and stuff, and then compare that to where we're at now. And I like how World exploited that.
Oh, sure. I mean, at the beginning when the girl's got, she goes, "Oh, it's a CD-ROM." It's like, what? Well, great, okay, yeah. See, an interactive CD-ROM where you can do nothing. It's not really a game. You can just like press stuff. It's like a encyclopedia of rubbish. That's what I hated back in the early, because everything in the early '90s was just like CDs. New games console. It's got this add-on, CD add-on, where you can just have like FMV cut sequences. You're like, yeah, but it's not actually a game, is it? No, it's not. It's just quick time events.
Yeah, it's like it's such a big deal. We can get video in a video game, but then it's like, yeah, but what are you actually doing? Oh, the bit with the water shaking, of course, is like iconic now, and I think that is a lot of the reason that the chaos theory line and the way that scene goes is so important because they worked like crazy to get that ripple effect to work exactly the way they wanted to.
Was it like?
And I was wondering
about that.
I was like,
underneath.
I was like, why is it? Yeah. And I was like, why? Yeah. We're vibrating a string underneath it. And I was like, why is it so? I think. And I was like, why is it so important that effect? Is it just that it's a cool effect, or does it work somehow? Thematically in the film, and I think it has everything to do with that chaos theory idea. That we don't know what's going to happen, and that that in playing God, we've kind of stolen that and taken it in a wrong direction, and we're gonna pay for it now.
Wait, that's certainly a very kind of fair argument. I think probably in Spielberg's eyes, probably like, this looks cool. Let's do this.
Yeah, but when you show me water in a glass 10 minutes after a guy took water from a glass and put it over his hand, I gotta figure out if it means anything.
Oh, right. Oh, certainly. Look at that. That's incredible. That T-Rex.
The question of course is, was that in the script, or did they come up with that on the day?
That's very hard to know. Very, very hard to know. Yeah. Obviously, because Spielberg doesn't do commentaries, on his films. So,
boy, I wish he would, man.
I know,
the world would be a better place if we got to get more in that guy's head. I think
it's only kind of a handful of directors that don't do it. Christopher Nolan doesn't do it.
He doesn't do it either. Yeah.
Well, have the movies speak for themselves, which is, gosh, it's a little bit kind of pretentious in a way. Or I'd rather them, it's just having endless interviews. I'd rather have them just.
Yeah, I understand where that mentality comes from, and I agree with it to a degree. I agree that we don't want to have this idea that you can't discuss a movie without having all this background information. Stories in movies definitely should stand on their own as far as pieces and how you look at them and read them, and you shouldn't have to know everything there is to know about the background in order to talk about them and in order to have your own read on it and discuss it. On the other hand, what goes in a commentary should not be the director telling you what you're supposed to think about the movie or what it's about. What should be in a commentary is a director talking about how the movie was made and what they were thinking when they came up with it and why they wanted to make it.
Well, yeah, exactly. I mean,
and that's the difference. So it does stand on its own as long as what you were talking about isn't, okay, I'm going to give you stuff that you need that we didn't put in the movie for you to understand what we were going for.
Well, Spielberg's argument's always, doesn't want to, kind of diminish the magic of the movie. But if you're going to produce like 2 or 3 hour documentaries about the making of the movie, you've already done that kind of argument's already a bit redundant, it's
not. Yeah, I mean, if that's his argument, I don't even understand that. What I've heard from Nolan is more what I was talking about earlier.
Sure.
Where it's like, well, directors shouldn't tell you what you're supposed to take from a movie, and it's interesting because you get the same thing from Joss Whedon, who complains about the way people do commentaries, but of course he does them for everything.
Oh, sure.
And he's not and what he's giving you is a workshop on movie making, not an analysis of his own movie.
Oh, exactly. sometimes you watch a film and think, how did they do that? And if the directors provided the commentary, they may provide you with some information how they achieved a particular shot or a sequence. And
by the way, we're giving really dry commentary right now on one of the best scenes in the movie. So I should just say this is thrilling. Moving on.
What was your when you first heard the T-Rex roar? In terms of the sound effect they created, was it for me it was hearing that sound effect was the perfect kind of representation of what the T-Rex could sound like, even though they probably would have never sounded like that. So now
I don't think that you can watch this movie and ever look at dinosaurs the same again.
Yeah,
and I think that, and maybe that goes without saying, but I felt like saying it, so I did.
Because I was disappointed when I saw like King Kong with Peter Jackson's film, and then the two T-Rexes turned up, and they didn't make the same roar. I was like, no, I wanted it to sound
no,
the
that's
same.
what they sound like. Yeah. Now we were pretty young when this came out, so I don't know if this is true, but I don't know that anybody was talking about velociraptors before this movie came out.
Well, no, because velociraptors, but didn't they? They were actually a lot smaller in reality, but then they kind of at the time they made a discovery of actual kind of a larger one after the film. So it kind of they were like, hey, we can say they're this big now.
Get away with that, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, and I love the explanation in Jurassic World, which just fixes every inconsistency with the dinosaurs,
with the feathers
right?
and stuff like that.
Yeah, because I heard people.
I loved all that.
It was brilliant. Yeah, because I've heard people say, oh, well, they should add feathers now and stuff, and I'm like, well, you've got a pre-established universe where they didn't have them, so you can't retroactively start adding stuff just to try to be more accurate. Because if the point is accuracy, we're not going to get that 100% right anyway. We don't know everything.
Well, exactly.
And we're not.
These are artificial creatures where they're
even changing stuff.
Dinosaurs look like.
And we're even changing stuff we know for sure isn't right just to make them look a certain way so that you can have a fun, thrilling movie. So the explanation in World of, well, we weren't going for natural in the first place. We were going for what people wanted them to see. That, as you said, that was an inspired.
Yeah, they literally pulled out their get out of jail free card and went.
Yeah, but it totally works.
Yeah, it works.
I buy it.
Oh yeah,
yeah, completely buy it. But I'm sorry to answer your question. Yeah, I mean like the sound effects, not just for the T-Rex, but also for the Raptors.
They really creeped me out when I was a kid.
Changed my entire perception of dinosaurs, and I mean these are dinosaurs for people now.
Yeah, yeah. And also coming up in a minute is when obviously the car gets pushed off the cliff face, and there's a huge kind of because I highlighted it is a very common movie fluff. But there's obviously fans of the film as well who strongly believe, that there is actually a cliff face there, but the car was pushed along to the left and it went off the cliff. And someone has actually sent me a map of what it actually all looks like. I'm like, well, just because someone drew that map doesn't actually mean it's true. It's on film. It fundamentally feels like a huge error where this kind of, the goat was on the same level as the car, so it was a T-Rex, and suddenly there's a giant cliff face. You're like, oh, wait a minute, where'd that come from?
Yeah, I mean, at the very, very least, even if it was supposed to be there, and somehow or rather that works, you give us a back-off shot earlier to show us the scope of it.
Exactly, and also there was wasn't it when I showed you the back-up shot, there's like a huge tunnel on the left, but later on it's not actually there. It's
Yeah, so I mean, you've got to establish that stuff if it's supposed to be there. Well, but you're right, it does look like an error.
What's kind of happened is it's basically because they've obviously shot the live action stuff, but then this stuff is all in a studio, so they've kind of not got the continuity right. I don't think it's just a bit of.
Oh, is that what it is? Because some of it was shot outside and some. Yeah,
it's
I've seen some footage of that.
If you in the behind-the-scenes documentary when the T-Rex is getting covered with water, because Stan Winston didn't know they were going to have the scene set in rain. And Spielberg goes, I want loads of water. And they're like, is the animatronics going to be able to withstand all the it getting wet? They're like, I don't know. Let's try it out. And then if you watch the behind the scenes stuff, the T-Rex just like shakes, like it's full of water.
Yeah,
it's really weird.
I remember that. I've seen that.
It looks real.
Yeah.
It's like it's freezing. It's trembling with the cold air or something. But yeah, it's bizarre, but it worked.
Well, I think that's one of the reasons that that we some of us appreciate this movie so much is once you see those behind the scenes things, you're like, wow, this was not an easy movie to make.
Oh God, no. I mean, at the time, because you're also dealing with new technology as well, is it going to work? Is we going to be able to achieve all the shots? Or the computers be able to render all this data in time? And
yeah,
it would seem, nowadays, when they tell you about, when they're doing like a Pixar movie, and like a minute's worth of footage could take weeks to render or something. It just seems bonkers. You think, how do they get it made in time? They started like 4 years prior to its release. I don't know.
Yeah, they've got 3 or 4 movies. I think 2 to 4 movies going on at any given time.
It's crazy.
It's in some kind of production stage. And then you think this year Pixar's got 2 movies coming out. And you're like, that's crazy.
God.
I mean, they skipped last year, but we've never had a year where there's been 2, and it's kind of wild to me.
What did you think when they added the little kind of like comedic sound effect when Nedry slips over?
That always bothered me.
Yeah, it kind of.
I do not understand that.
It's like his character is kind of played for laughs at this point,
Well, yeah, but that's the only kind of cartoony thing like that, and every time I see the movie, I'm looking for something in the frame that would make that sound.
Yeah.
Because I just don't believe that they would add a cartoon sound effect, and I guess that's what they did. But yeah, he slips, and it's like, and you're just like, is there a ripcord somewhere? What is causing that?
What they should have done, when he got eaten, they should have added the Wilhelm scream as well. Just to sort of mug the audience a bit more,
That's great. No, nothing this guy does once it starts raining is smart.
No, he's an absolute buffoon. Someone who's like, he's a programmer, and he should be he just lacks any common sense. That's his character. He's intelligent but has no common sense. And
yeah, he's book smart, but he doesn't have any street smarts.
Yeah.
I think it's important to note that the whole the social commentary in this and the theme of again playing God, messing with nature, nature was not meant to be messed with like this. I think in the park not being able to open because we mucked around with science we didn't understand. It's important to note that if all we had was he tries to steal the embryos, he drops the fences, and the dinosaurs get out, that wouldn't have been enough. Right, to make that theme work and for us to, at the end, buy, A, that we had to shut down the park, and B, that we're saying really anything about humanity's role in nature, because this could have been anything. It could have been a zoo. It could, you know what I mean? Like it could have been anything that you're trying to keep behind a fence. And this guy it's conspiracy before it's anything. It's just that this guy's trying to steal something, and he has to shut all the fences down. So it's really good that they thought to bring in the thing from the book of the dinosaurs can reproduce now.
Oh yeah.
The whole nature finds a way.
This couldn't have been the whole crux of the movie where you've got
it really could. I mean, because the point is that the mistake wasn't just that we brought the dinosaurs back; it was that we didn't do it with any responsibility or forethought.
Oh yeah, it's a great line for Ian Malcolm has said. They've kind of done all this without, they haven't earned it. They haven't earned the opportunity to kind of have these dinosaurs. They just kind of market it, pay for it, because they have the money doesn't mean they should be allowed to do it.
Yeah, and I think that's the distinction. I like that this is not an anti-technology movie. This is not an anti-progress movie.
It's about human errors that people make, and they're kind of trying to play God.
Yeah, hubris. And when you when you get to the end and you find out that they carelessly put in the frog DNA that allows them to flip gender at will.
Yeah.
You realize that the mistake wasn't necessarily just bringing dinosaurs back from extinction. It was, again, that we didn't do it with any care or responsibility. So I love how Jurassic World takes that a little further and says, okay, now that we have them, maybe it's not a bad idea to actually go with the park thing if we've learned our lesson.
Well, yeah, but they don't do that, obviously. But
that's why I like the idea of the new dinosaur. Yeah, because a lot of people hate that. A lot of people are like, "Oh, they built a new dinosaur. That's such a dumb idea." I'm like, no, the point is that it's dumb.
I think because they're making fun of it. Because the whole thing is like the audience are bored of seeing the same thing. They want something new, so you have to
Yeah.
abuse the position you're in and give them something they want. And at the end of the day, it's not going to work. But because they create this sort of it's basically being Frankenstein and creating this monster, and it ends up not being a dinosaur, less than before, This this scene,
This concludes my analysis of that part of
I
the
always
film.
love this scene here because he's
Yeah.
like, come on to him, and he's like, he's thrown up in the car because there's always when I saw it in the cinema, I have vivid memories of this film. There's always a bit when the lawyer gets eaten, that got a huge uproar, with laughter in the cinema. And when the kid was being sick as well, people found it funny. All the moments that that were intended to work all worked. I don't think the film kind of tried to force the humor. It kind of does a great balancing act, what Spielberg is generally very good at as a director. Because I said earlier at the beginning, was this kind of whole script is kind of tailor made for him. You couldn't picture anyone else directing this.
Yeah, and Grant is so genuine in bringing that stuff, in delivering that to the audience, where they're as they're falling out of this tree here, like he has to stay calm for this kid, or the kid's not going to make it because he's got to have the courage to get out of the truck.
But it's played for a great little scene because he's like, okay, we'll do it slowly. Then suddenly the car goes, and starts to move. He's like, oh no, like
Yeah, I was going to say
it's like,
that's my favorite bit there is that he goes, "Oh no," and he says that in almost a humorous, like, we're still in the thick of this. Is it ever going to be over thing?
yeah.
And then of course you have to have the truck falls on them in the right spot.
Oh yeah, just like something out of a Buster Keaton or Charlie Chaplin film.
Although I buy it here because it looks like Grant put himself there on purpose. Like he has to run forward to get there.
We mistimed it. Splat. The end. The film's.
Well, I mean, that could happen, but there's a certain degree of suspension of disbelief you have to give a thing like this.
Yeah.
But yeah, I love that line, and we're back in the car again. In Lego Jurassic World, that scene where he throws up in the car, they have Lego vomit.
Oh, brilliant! So can you game? Can you select like each film, or do you have to go from the first film and then work your way through it to Jurassic World?
They let you pick Jurassic Park or Jurassic World. You can go to either first, but then in the middle, you have to play Jurassic Park to get to the other three or to the other two.
Oh, I want to play that now.
Oh, it's great. Yeah, I'm really enjoying
it. My time is now being taken up with Arkham Knight, so that is officially my.
Oh, I know. That's why I'm trying to rush through it before Tuesday.
That is officially my time sponge. So it's.
How did you get to play it early?
I pre-ordered it. It turned up early. Order it online. Usually arrives a couple of days early. I paid for it.
Really? Yeah. I didn't know. Oh man, I should have done that. Well, I mean, I did pre-order it, but I pre-ordered it, later. So yeah, it's gonna get here on Tuesday. Anyway, speaking of dating things, we've really dated this document or this commentary.
We have.
Yeah. Yes, we have.
But I always like Ian Malcolm when he kind of he tried to distract the T-Rex. He's so stupid because he's obviously poorly planned out on his behalf. But when he gets knocked into the air, it's kind of a bit of a strange way for him to be kind of defeated or knocked out. Essentially, he kind of got away with it at the skin of his neck, really.
Some of what helps to create the intense atmosphere in this movie is when there is no music.
Oh yeah, definitely. I mean, there's so many scenes where they're literally taken out. There's no score. I mean, when he's coming up in a minute, when he's sitting in the car by himself, and you can hear that the T-Rex is slowly approaching, and
they really let you live in this world in some of those moments where you're just sitting there taking it in, not knowing what's going to happen. That's different than I think like gimmicky horror jump scares.
Oh, certainly. I mean, it goes back to obviously directing Jaws. Jaws would, because the music would have to do a lot of the work. With this, they don't have to rely on the score at all. They can just rely on the sound effects, and the sound effects are far more terrifying than what the score could do.
There are a couple of bits where there's some kind of shoddy blue screen work where you've got characters that don't look like they're in the same frame as the dinosaurs. We still have that a lot with movies now. Jurassic World has a couple of those, but here I can't believe how often the T-Rex looks like it's right in the same frame with that.
When it's chasing after him, there's a couple of shots where, because I'm watching this in high definition, there's it doesn't look that seamless as I recall, years ago, when I first saw it. Because we all kind of watched it on film once,
well, then I'm never watching it on Blu-ray because it looks really good right now where I'm looking at it.
But the Blu-ray went under. It's a very good picture, but they've kind of added a little bit of edge enhancement. So Universal tend to do that with a lot of their titles. It's kind of, for hardcore sort of, Blu-ray collectors, edge enhancement is a big no-no. You want to try and keep it as kind of close to film stock as possible. But Universal kind of, do add a lot of sharpness to their picture, but it still looks great. But there was a couple of moments where the CGI has not hold up as well as I recall as a kid, and even on the DVD. And the DVD kind of, the resolution is obviously not as good as Blu-ray, but it looks a bit more seamless on that format.
We talked over it, but I feel the need to go back for a second and say that the objects in the mirror appear closer, or are closer than they appear bit would probably, if I made one, be in my top 5 of great thriller gags.
Oh, definitely.
Such a good gag.
Yes, gotta go faster.
Well, see, Oliver, she knows what an herbivore is, and that. Oh no, Tim said that. So yeah, I still don't know why she's a super genius. I was gonna say, I was like, no, see, look, she knows what herbivores are. See, she's a super genius. But then I couldn't make that joke because, well, anyway.
It's the great shot coming up when Sam Neill calls out to the Brachiosauruses and. They all kind of look at him, they all go, "Oh, what's that?" I love all that, and in the lighting as well, in the background of the sun sort of setting, it looks like something from the past, doesn't it? From that sort of prehistoric age.
I forgot that they have a bit where they acknowledge that he's going to be out of work now because they have genetically brought dinosaurs back, and that's really cool that they put that in there. Because the moment that he pulls the raptor claw back out, I'm like, and he's looking really contemplative at it. I find myself wondering what he's thinking while he's looking at it. And the first thing that comes to mind is, wow, this is not as big of a deal and as cool of a relic as it was 24 hours ago.
I know, yeah, he just throws it away, doesn't he? So
yeah,
it's a great, as you say, it's sort of symbol of his kind of career's finished. He
does not do that in the Lego game because you need it to get brush out of your way. Sorry, I was just playing that game earlier, so it's on my mind. Because as I'm watching this movie, I'm seeing all the scenes that I just saw in Lego form. But you're right. We're looking at all this merchandise, and how much of this is probably just straight up what you could buy.
Oh yeah.
Okay, that's fascinating.
It's got the
making of Jurassic Park book. Yeah, I was looking right at it. That's so funny that we both noticed that. Because boy, that just makes my imagination go wild. Because I'm like, boy, if somebody found that book, they'd be like, okay, so here's how they put together this park, minus the part where the dinosaurs ate everybody.
They'd be like, wait a minute, this is all just full of like computer-generated effects and animatronics. I was lied to. What the hell? What did I just see?
That's great.
I would certainly eat all that ice cream. Nothing else better to do.
Can you pass the salt? Oh. Did you have any trouble finding the house?
Yeah.
Every time you put two people at opposite ends of the table, I immediately go back to Batman 89.
This whole speech here is his kind of pivotal moment. I love all this stuff here because it's as I said earlier. Once he starts talking, he draws you in. Everything he says, he just says everything with such conviction and heart and passion behind every word. It's by that point he's such a experienced actor, been in so many films and directed movies. He's probably the most talented person on this production, in terms of acting.
Yeah, I completely agree with you. I mean, it's these human moments that really make the movie work, and it's the crux of it. Because again, while these days, looking back on this, there's a part of me that would love a little bit more of a more thoughtful kind of character-driven film. Every time we take the time to get in a character's head like this, they use all that real estate. Like this stuff is never wasted.
No, not at all.
They get as much character work done when they actually take the time to do it in 10 seconds as you would expect them to take a full scene to do.
Oh yeah, but even with the fences down, there's still, it always bugged me when I was younger that they're all kind of acting very relaxed, even though they're inside. I think there could be dinosaurs wandering around out there, and I'm just sitting there eating ice cream. I'd be like, I'm gonna go find some guns quickly as possible. I'll lock myself in the kitchen so I can eat the ice cream.
Yeah. Why are we safe? Right? Yeah. What is it about this building that makes us safe? Nothing, because we're gonna see it get demolished later. Yeah. You know what? I always forget that's ice cream. You pointed that out, and I'm like, yeah. Why is he sitting in front of a giant tub of ice cream?
Hey, mate, when you're depressed, you got to eat ice cream.
These kids are out there. They might be dying. Boy, it's time for ice cream. Man, I need some
cookie dough. Maybe. It'll be.
I always eat when I'm depressed.
Like dino kind of related ice cream. So the cookie bits, I suppose, would be kind of like dino droppings or something. I don't know.
Yeah, that's appetizing. That makes you immediately want to.
It's not really poo, but it's chocolate. But it's a bit of a play.
No, they're tiny dinosaur eggs, Oliver. That's what they are. They're tiny dinosaur eggs.
See, Sam Gill said I'll stay awake. He clearly fell asleep there, so he lied.
Well, he just made a promise he couldn't keep. He probably meant to.
Yes, yeah, I'll stay awake. 10 minutes later, he's like falling asleep. It
just so cracks me up. I never noticed that he was eating ice cream there. It's like oh my park is falling apart and my dinosaurs are eating people. I need comfort food. That is a happy dinosaur. That is the most cartoony looking dinosaur in the movie, I think.
Yeah,
when they show the front of it.
Yeah. When he talks to them, it's like grunts. But when it sneezes, that's a bit when the kind of CGI is a little bit iffy. But it's fine. It's still acceptable. But if I had to be a nitpicking, sod, I would.
And you do, Oliver. You do have to be a nitpicking sod. You do. To use your terminology. I like to try out Oliver's lingo whenever I'm talking to him, and it never sounds as good coming from me. We need Oliver to start saying more Captain Loganisms too. Like Oliver's got to start saying wiki.
Wiki.
Yeah. No, wiki sounds great coming from you. Yeah.
Oh dear. Oh, covered in all that snot. Oh god. I should clean herself up pretty quickly then.
That's why they paid these kid actors the big bucks.
See, that's this scene here is when they throw in the line about her being a hacker.
Oh yeah, well at least it comes earlier than I thought.
It's very redundant though. I said in my review, if you weren't really paying attention at that point, yes, for whatever reason, you could miss it, and then by the end of the film, you're like, hey, wait a minute, she's knows how to use the.
I guess the problem is you need her to do more tech stuff maybe throughout, right?
Definitely. Well, I suppose they kind of showed it a little bit when she's kind of using the CD-ROM interactive thing in the car.
Oh, okay. Maybe that's what they were doing.
Kind of like
maybe they thought that was enough.
If that was an argument, you could use that, but.
No, that's true. Cool. But the problem is going from that to I know how to program stuff and then the thing is these days I'm sure a lot of people wouldn't think twice about that, but I don't know, at the time, 93, like a kid her age knowing how to program and get through code and stuff, there weren't a lot of those.
Well, it wasn't as kind of as common, I suppose, in the sort of
Yeah, it was
in film. It was always it's always the a nerdy guy doing it, but it's made evidently clear from the beginning of say in a movie that the kid is a is a computer whiz.
I'm not saying I couldn't be made to buy it. I'm just saying that it would be a thing you'd have to go more out of your way to learn then than you would now. If you were that age. You know what I mean? Like, you and I didn't have a bunch of like 9-year-old friends that knew how to hack into the Pentagon or whatever.
No, none of that. I didn't know anyone who could.
I don't know anyone who could do exactly that now. I'm just saying, like, hack into things. Yeah. I don't think. But if I know anyone that could hack into the Pentagon, they probably wouldn't tell me.
They hacked into your channel.
Oh no! Please don't do that. I have enough difficulty with YouTube already. I don't need people coming in messing with my channel. Oh no. Wow. I bet Sam Jackson never thought he would have to utter the words lysine contingency in a movie.
Oh yeah. Certainly a name I'd certainly forget quickly. I'll forget that line of dialogue. Hard to remember.
Yeah, I'm gonna start quoting that one, Oliver. I'm gonna go around and be like, "Oh yeah, you remember that bit where Sam Jackson's character in Jurassic Park was talking about the lysine contingency? You remember that?"
It's like, no.
It's my favorite scene. How do you not know about that? How do you not remember that? It's my favorite part.
Well, the best bit coming up is when everyone quotes to me. It's like, "Hold on to your butts." That's the line everyone kind of quotes from this film.
Yeah, well, Sam Jackson has to have some kind of like big quotable one-liner. But I think the reason people remembered it because for the longest time I was like, I would hear people say that, like, what is that from? And I saw Jurassic Park and I was like, oh, he says it there. I think part of the reason people remember it is because he says it twice.
Oh yes, that's right. Yeah.
It comes up again later.
Yeah,
or maybe he's already said it.
But
he says it twice.
Yeah, he just says it now, and then earlier on he said it. Obviously, when he executed the program to start the ride.
So like that's his character thing. He says it twice.
It's also a bit of a shame that Ian Malcolm kind of gets not much else to do. Obviously, because he's wounded, but he gives Ellie some instructions of how to find the mains breakers. But it's a shame that he didn't have more interaction. But I suppose we're having Ellie and Alan sort of take over and become the heroes, which would probably be logical way to go, and it does do it.
Yeah, but the sad thing is it makes Ian Malcolm seem like he's just there to give the moral of the story.
Yeah, and provide some sense of humor to the film.
Yeah, that too. It's just sometimes it's kind of annoying when the film doesn't know that everybody's favorite character is going to be that guy.
Yeah, they obviously didn't know at all, but it's just how
I'm not saying that everybody's favorite character necessarily is Ian Malcolm, but I think
it was
a
at the
lot
time.
of people's favorite character.
It was at the time. He one most people kind of fondly talked about when it came to being reviewed.
And so then it feels like they've got to kind of contrive a reason to get him injured so that he's not in a lot of the rest of the movie.
No, certainly. I mean, because
like taking Cyclops out of every X-Men film.
Oh god, yeah, that was a crime, wasn't it? That was ridiculous. But I mean, it said, I think you may have said earlier, but, Sam Neill's character could have been played by anyone, really. And but Sam Neill kind of makes it work because he's such a good actor. But
absolutely.
You could see someone else playing his character, and it wouldn't be that impactful on the film. It wouldn't have changed it. I mean,
and importantly, by this point, I like him with the kids.
Oh yeah.
I just feel like to reiterate what I said earlier. I just feel like they have to make a little bit too big of a deal out of his whole "I don't like kids" thing.
Oh yeah, no. He kind of warms to him quite quickly, and he starts being the teacher that he is. He's all kind of observe, look, and always telling them stuff. But that's a great bit of direction when the camera's kind of moving in on them as they're observing the T-Rex eat this kind of other dinosaur, and you're not actually seeing it, and it's just kind of told in little bits of dialogue just explaining what they're seeing.
Well, and especially capping that part off with Tim saying, "Look how much blood,"
Mm.
because we don't see it. They move away from that, and they don't. I like how much of that's done off camera, and then that's also just a really real human thing for him to say right then. You know,
Oh, definitely.
that's what that 11-year-old kid would say right then. And he's shocked, and even though they're in danger, having a difficult time moving away from it because it's like seeing a train wreck.
Yeah, you think that T-Rex would probably see them running away, but you know.
That's a great point. Well, actually, I want to ask you a question about the T-Rex because we were talking about something else and I forgot to mention it earlier. Why is the T-Rex so absolutely fascinated with the Jeep turned over?
Oh yeah, I don't know.
I
don't
always
know.
wonder that because she's into movement. So once people are moving, she goes after them. But that Jeep is just sitting there.
I suppose it
And
can smell them. I suppose, and it's kind of
but it still
it's
goes.
all done to just sort of to create this sort of action sequence. How are we gonna
Oh yeah, I
how are we
know.
gonna get from point A to point B? How are we gonna get
But I
them
gotta
off?
question it because they tell you what the rules are. They're like she goes after movement. Okay, but once they've left the truck, I mean maybe there's a residual smell or something. But she just goes to town on that
Yeah,
truck.
yeah. I do kind of feel that the movie gets very relaxed on its kind of use of continuity. It just kind of it introduces an idea,
A little
kind of
bit.
doesn't really keep to it.
That is not a big deal. It's simply a thing that I had never questioned before, and the last time I watched this movie, I
Well,
suddenly thought of it.
I questioned the whole. You know, I think when I first saw the film and kind of discussed it with my friends, was about the whole T Rex not seeing you if you don't move, and I thought it was such a ridiculous idea. But there was some obviously study put into it where
Yeah.
its eyesight's based on it, how where its eyes are in position on its skull to where they can actually see it. It apparently makes sense, but to me it felt a bit strange. If you don't move, oh, you're invisible, you can't see me. Um, but
Well, of course,
they kind of forget about that. They kind of forget.
some animals see differently and like don't have normal eyesight.
Oh yes, it's even like with cats. If you approach a cat really close, it's all blurred to. All they see is like a blurred image. But if you move away, they can see you perfectly. But it's
Yeah, and of course, bats see through echolocation, and you'd think, oh well, they should be able to see with eyeballs. They have eyeballs,
yeah.
but they don't see that
But at the
way.
end of the day, it's just I just thought it was kind of a bonkers theory. But say, well, we're no experts, and the experts know, so hopefully it is true. So
Well, and Oliver, we shouldn't pretend like we know anything about science, right? I
exactly, we
mean,
know
or
experts.
maybe you
No,
do. Maybe you
I'm
know
no
a lot
doctor,
about
so that's
science.
the one thing. So
Maybe Oliver's making little dinosaurs in his apartment right
you
now.
never know. I'm gonna reverse engineer a chicken into a dinosaur.
What other kinds of DNA are you going to fill in the gaps with?
Oh, that's a good question. Uh,
A gopher?
I might use a gerbil.
You should use an armadillo to give it a thicker, outer shell.
That's true. That's true. Oh, that's a good point.
Can I ask you a stupid question?
Go for it.
Do you have
Add
armadillos?
some more. Come on.
Do you have armadillos in the UK?
Armadillos? I don't think so. No. I haven't seen any around here.
We had them a lot when I was in Arkansas, and I ran over one with my car
Oh
once.
dear. No.
Anyway, so here's the electric fence bit.
Oh, I love this bit.
So really, Oliver, you would go up to this fence and pretend like you were being electrocuted after these kids had been through all of these traumatic experiences.
Oh, sure, sure. Doing that.
Wow, I don't know. I feel like that's maybe in poor taste right now.
I would certainly love to wind up kids. I'd just drive them bonkers. You know.
Because the problem with it for me is I can't decide if it's the movie saying that he's getting better at being this father figure, or if he does that because he's not good at it yet. I'm not sure what's going on here.
If it was my own kids, I wouldn't do it. But if it was someone else's, I wouldn't care.
That's so fun. Yeah, but he's building a rapport with them. He's trying to make them feel safe. And yeah, levity, but I don't know if that's where the levity should come from.
He's kind of morbid sense of humour for him to sort of, kind of relax the kids, but it's he has a very kind of twisted sense.
I don't mean to be fixated on that. Yeah, but do we see that much of a twisted sense of humor anywhere else from him?
Probably. Well, no, at the beginning, he pretended to slash.
Oh, that's true. Yeah, but he didn't like kids.
I know, but
that's part of why he did that. And now he's okay. I'm gonna stop talking about that. It's not important.
You'll get comments.
Somebody, yeah, that's okay. I already have, I'm sure. No, make it a race. Make it a game. That's a really good idea right now.
Yeah, definitely climb up.
He's like, oh no, take your time. It's not a race. No, shoot up that thing.
But also, when Ellie's gone into the sort of the power generator room, he's I'd be so paranoid just walking in there. I'll be so slow about it. I'll be like looking around every corner, and your hearing.
Oh yeah.
Your hearing will be like super sensitive to everything because you'd just be like, "What was that?" Any slight sound. Right, I'm going back. No, I'm not going in there.
You drop a Tic Tac out of your pocket and you slam into the wall. Oh my God! What happened? And of course, this is a little bit of a typical thriller thing, right? Where they just happen to be climbing up the fence while she's turning the thing on. Yeah, it's classic.
Yeah, definitely. Slight bit of suspense there. It works so well, and then it pays it off with a bang when the raptor comes through the the piping from behind her.
Now, for the record, I know I complain about coincidence a lot. Coincidences happen. I mean, so this is certainly a thing that could happen.
Oh, it's got all the the classic cliche tropes of a.
But it is a little bit of a trope.
But I suppose, I mean, some people have said to me, you people can criticize kind of the faults of the first one, but sort of be quite lenient with the new one.
Well, I think partly because again, there's an adjustment, so we kind of expect certain kinds of mistakes at that point, or not even mistakes, but just. Like these aren't movies that are trying to be all that realistic.
No, that's why I kind of gave the film kind of the benefit of the doubt and just sort of accept what it was, because I know what I was in for. These films are not high pieces of art. They're not like they're not remembered and praised over for their performances and storytelling. It's just great entertainment popcorn movies.
Yeah, exactly.
And it doesn't have to be anything else. That's it's doing its job. That's what it's set out to do.
But the nice thing is, it does go a little bit farther than that, because there is some decent social commentary in these.
Oh yeah, certainly. But
so the nice thing is, I mean, like the characterization most of the time isn't super deep and stuff, but there is a little bit of a spark of some thoughtfulness and some get your brain thinking also. Mostly just to say, go read the book, and then you can actually really explore these ideas.
I love her sort of acting there, where she's so terrified of the raptor. But I think the actress, she kind of said, she was, it was quite easy to be scared because the animatronics were so good.
Oh yeah, sure. Well, and that's why you want to be able to work with practical as much as possible. I mean, I'm sure Sigourney Weaver had to have the same thing with Alien.
Oh God, yeah. I mean, if she's probably so used to it, but if some bloke, is in this alien suit running after you, oh God, I'd cack my pants, But I was on this bit because she runs out the gate, closes it, and just sits there crying. I'd be like, keep going, keep running, don't stop. Are you mad? But
yeah, it's like sometimes it's like the actors have read the script where they're like, we know where the dinosaurs aren't going to go. As you said, with Hammond eating his pity ice cream.
Exactly. I mean, with Muldoon, the game warden, you know he's going to die, but it's just this great build up to the crunch time.
By the way, I don't mean to imply that Hammond is a super whitey character. I just think it's funny that he's that he's eating comfort food while people are being eaten by his dinosaurs. Also in the Lego game, Oliver, they make fun of the girls scream a lot.
Oh, do they?
Because she actually has an ability in that game where she can scream like that and shatter glass.
Oh, fantastic! That's really good. It's made by the same people, isn't it? Traveller's Tales, isn't it?
Yeah, they've made all of them.
Yeah.
They do a phenomenal.
I think they were UK based Traveller's Tales.
Were they really?
They did Toy Story on the Mega Drive. I think it was a game.
Oh, that's right. I forgot that was them.
I think
Yeah.
it was something called Mickey. Is it Mickey Mania? Maybe where you get Mickey Mouse.
Mickey Mania was them. Oh man, I forgot about that.
Yeah.
Yeah. You're suddenly talking about games I know, and I forgot they did them. Yeah.
Did Sonic R on a Sega Saturn. They were very good, very talented developers, and they've just also been stuck doing Lego games for the last 15 years. But hey,
Yeah, but they're good.
That's good, yeah.
And they don't seem to be sick of it because they're not phoning it in. I mean, they're good. Some people have complained that they don't. I don't know why we're suddenly talking about this. People have complained that they don't, innovate real hard, and it's kind of the same thing every time. But I mean, it's a system that works.
Yeah, yeah.
And,
I've only got one. I've only got the Batman 2 Lego game.
That that's the best of them.
I know because Superman's in it, and it's got the John Williams music and the Danny Elfman music. I'm like, yes, this is incredible.
We'll play 3 because it's really good too.
Oh, okay.
It just came out a few months ago.
Can you be Superman?
But anyway,
can you be Superman in it though?
I think so. Yeah, it's the whole Justice League, that one.
Oh, cool. Okay.
And they finally made Martian Manhunter a playable character. Because in the first, in the second game, I was like, why isn't Martian Manhunter a playable character?
See, and the kids go for the food as well. Look at that. Oh.
Yeah, but they haven't been in a place where they could get ice cream the whole time.
Yeah, look at his head. He's a human piece of toast. Lovely jobby. And I'd go eat some toast as well. Have some peanut butter. You'd be fine.
I'm not going to heat up my toast in the same way that I became a human piece of toast. Man. I feel like Tim has fared a lot worse.
Yeah, because she's eating something healthy. Sad. She's eating healthy food, but he's just going straight for the ice cream. I'd be like, oh yeah, chocolate ice cream.
Well, she's got Jell-O.
Oh yeah. Well, she had a weird mix of food on her plate. She had like broccoli, like fruit, and then she's got Jell-O as well, or jelly as we call it.
Oh really? Is that what you call it? Okay.
Yeah.
I guess at some point we decided that the brand name was more fun to say. Because we could just say gelatin, but we're all lazy and we can't say 3-syllable words.
Now, would you say the kitchen sequence is probably the most iconic kind of scene in the film, or the most effective scene?
And it's my favorite because I am a giant fan of the Raptors.
Yeah.
The Raptors are my favorite thing. I have written Raptors in almost every piece of fiction I've ever written.
Really?
I get a Raptors
in space or something.
As much as humanly possible. Well, I haven't written anything about Raptors. I just get Raptors in things. I love Raptors. I've actually been considering recently of starting to collect Raptors.
Really? Well, they're sort of like
not real ones, because we don't have
them. Exist, but I like gullible,
like paintings and prints of Raptors and
cool.
Raptor figures, and there's a lot of cool stuff.
You have to
because people love them.
You have to try and get some of the original Jurassic Park Raptor figures then. If you don't have them ready,
I should. I never had the fence. And I've got a friend that has the fence, and I finally got to play with one a few years ago for a movie that we or I guess this is high school now, so several years ago. But we did like a stop motion action figure thing, and we used that, and it's cool.
I think my friend had the car and the T-Rex where you can pull a bit of its skin out of its side. I think you can bite.
I think they all had that.
Yeah, they all had that. Yeah.
Yeah. By the way, the new merchandising for Jurassic World, it was weird how late it came out, but once it did, it's just like it was.
Oh really? I've not seen any of the because toy adverts any kind of show now on kids' networks. So I barely see them. So
I never see toy advertisements either.
I still love kids' toy adverts.
I know, me too.
But seeing them as an adult is quite wacky.
No, I got to go to a Target before I can even know what the action figures are around.
Yeah. I mean, action figures aren't as strong as they used to be. I don't think in terms of
the
variety.
No, they're not. Well, what I like about the new ones is that they're for kids. They're action figures. They're not mini statues. They're to be played with.
$300 statues by Hot Toys.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I love that stuff. Don't get me wrong, but I also want stuff that. Well, and I've also got kids, and I want to be able to buy an action figure to hand my kid. And,
yeah, but if you buy like a $300 action figure, you're not playing with that. you know.
Yeah.
She's gonna,
Well, even a lot of stuff, just some stuff is just too articulated, and it's not fun to play with because it's like, oh, 30 points for articulation. Well, that's great if you want to pose it, but if you're actually trying to play with it, it crumbles in your hand.
yeah.
Anyway, so Jurassic Park.
Now this is a very very effective kind of like twist it does, you know, when it sees her reflection, but
Yeah,
you think she's just straight ahead, but also
it's my favorite
it's
bit.
so well done. I mean, because the audience when I saw it, it was just like, you know, on the edge of their seat. I was just like, ah, but it's. I mean, it was obviously this whole sequence is so articulately storyboarded. It's such a great idea by Spielberg.
Yeah, boy, that still works. That's
it,
cool.
it kind of works as well as a good gag.
Yeah, it is. It's as good as the mirror gag.
Yeah, and this is this whole sequence here has got some of the best kind of like spooky music or scary music from Williams. It's a,
I think that kind of stuff is hard to do too because it's so easy to go over the top with that.
oh yeah.
Like you remember you remember the lizard with Amazing Spider-Man where we had that really goofy music with when the lizard's like walking around that room trying to find Gwen Stacy, and it's like,
Yeah.
and there's like, and you're like, are you serious? Really?
Yeah.
We're doing that?
Because
Okay.
I would kind of expect better from kind of James Horner because he's you know
I would have thought.
he scored Aliens, and that's a scary score. So
I know, man. Horner did. I don't know what he was doing with that movie.
oh, I mean, the thing is, you know, obviously we're talking about Spider-Man now, but I mean,
Yeah, I'm sorry.
the theme tune to the Amazing Spider-Man I thought was actually quite good, but some
Oh no, it is good, but there's some weird score in that.
yeah.
That's all I'm saying, and stuff that doesn't really fit. Anyway, I don't know why we're talking about that.
Here comes the ultimate hacking sequence, the best hacking ever on film. Is pure genius.
Yeah, and also making something three dimensional doesn't automatically make it better.
Oh no, it's silly because she had this weird kind of grid, didn't she? She uses it's like playing an old Atari ST or Amiga game, and it's like
Yeah,
using
and
3D, and you're like, this what? You know?
yeah, and it looks like it's like this interface makes no sense. It's like no, just have normal folders.
It's not hacking. It's just kind of moving around the screen and clicking on a square.
Wait.
You know?
That's a Unix?
Yeah, it says Unix.
Tell me that's not what Unix actually looked like back then.
Is that what they're kind of? Is that what Linux is supposed to be? I don't know.
I think Unix is a real thing.
Oh, okay. I thought it was just kind of I thought it was just a play on Linux at the time.
Maybe so. I'm gonna check because I thought that was a thing too, but I might be wrong.
So they've got
Unix is definitely a thing.
okay, yeah, because they've got a Unix kind of operating system on a Apple Mac. I don't know.
Yeah. Well, I mean, universal operating system, so you should be able to.
No, I suppose so. Yeah.
But that is just so goofy that it's like three-dimensional like that.
It's the problem with all films that deal with hacking. That the visual storytelling of hacking, they always have to make more interesting because in reality it's so redundantly boring to look at.
It would also take a lot longer.
Okay, yeah.
But yeah, it's so. I mean, most things would, I would assume. But yeah, it's kind of just this silly thing of like we've got to make it look advanced, and then I'm like, well, we are in present day. Why must it look advanced?
Yeah. It'd be so more interesting if you just type in loads of code and just went, oh, I know how to figure this out. I know what to find.
Then it would be like Scotty in Star Trek 4, where it's like just because you're from the future, you can make an Apple
yeah.
that much faster. Okay, a keyboard. How quaint.
No, the ice cream.
My God, you get fixated on things you never noticed before. Had you noticed that before?
I love this bit in a moment because obviously it's clearly a stunt double because when the girl Lex falls down, she turns into like an adult woman. But they really cleverly played up because the stunt double, she looked up when they filmed it, so they added the actress's face on top of her. But it's basically this young girl's face like plastered on this middle-aged woman. It's brilliant.
I never noticed it, so it's pretty effective. Wow. Yeah. One of my favorite visual bits too that we saw just a second ago is the computer screen reflected off the raptor's face.
That was yeah. Was that the grills though? The grill of the vents.
It showed numbers.
Did it?
Like it was.
It always looks like numbers.
Yeah.
I think it's the grill though, like above it.
Is it?
Yeah.
Because I mean, I can see specific numbers.
Oh, did
in
you?
it, though.
Okay, we'll have to kind of look at that again and kind of pause.
Yeah, but then what exactly would be projecting that image? Because it's not like there's a projector. Is there a projector somewhere? Okay, now I'm not confident that I'm right about that, but I thought it was numbers. You know what though, Oliver? After this is posted, we'll know because someone will leave a comment.
Of course, they always do, which is good.
I learned so much more after doing these things than while I'm doing them.
Oh, because the bit when Tim falls down, well, no, when he falls down, then the skeleton falls towards him. It's all done in reverse. But he actually did it quite well. You know, actually looks like it's actually.
Oh, is it really?
Yeah,
okay.
That's a great iconic moment when Ellie looks up and sees the raptor come under the sheet. Such a trailer fodder shot that was.
You cracked me up earlier when you started talking about a stunt double because I was looking at a raptor's face when you said stunt double and you didn't say who it was yet. I was like, oh, the raptor had a stunt double, did she? Okay.
Wow, so real. And
sure, nice of that T-Rex to show up right then.
No, because I had mentioned this in the review, like, you know, how did it get in there? They didn't hear it. You know, it did come. Yeah. They said it came through the door at the back there, but you know, it would have had to kind of get really low to get in there. I mean, it gets away with it. You know, it's fine.
Oh no, it's just so much fun.
Oh yeah. If you didn't have this, it wouldn't have worked at all. It had quite a I don't know, quite a weak ending, I suppose. It wasn't, you know, from what you've seen prior. This, you know, you need to pay off with something big. And they certainly do, and you can see how confident they've got with the CGI because now they get
it looks great,
really close to the T-Rex in CG form.
Yeah, and this is '93. It holds up pretty well.
Oh yeah,
it's fine.
And it has to do this little pose, you know.
Yeah, it's triumphant. Yeah. Well, and then it's so much fun that then we get to World and they kind of work together a little bit instead of fighting each other.
Though, because that roar at the end, it's not the T-Rex in the film has a couple of roars. They've created different sound effects for each kind of sound bite.
Oh really?
But in Jurassic World, when he roars at the end, it's not the roar I was kind of most familiar with. It was also the same kind of sound effect, but it wasn't the one I was hoping would appear. But that's kind of, you know, the nitpicking coming back again.
Did you drop it an entire point because they didn't use the right roar, Oliver?
Maybe. That film gets an F rating. Didn't get the
roar right
at the end. It gets 1 out of 5.
It wasn't my roar. Exactly. Yeah. I love the bit with the banner with dinosaurs rule the earth dropping. This whole idea of this is just something we can't tame, we can't contain it. We didn't know what we were doing.
Sure. I still would have wanted.
And again, I'm sorry. Again, I find myself so surprised that I care so much about Hammond. When we get in the helicopter and he's looking at his stick, it's super sad.
Oh yeah, because all these dreams, you know, are kind of crumbled, you know, and
he did it for all the right reasons.
The things he's holding is all inspired by that one little idea, you know. It's
yeah.
And I would have loved at the end when they kind of flew away from the island, was to have the sort of you see all the dinosaurs kind of, you know, take over their habitat, and you know you see them in their glory. It's a little bit like the end of Lost World where you got all the dinosaurs together, which seems a bit weird because they'd probably go start eating each other, but you know. But yeah, it would have had a big final shot of all the dinosaurs. But
on the other hand, I think that there's something kind of poignant about ending with the bird instead of doing that, where it's like this is where evolution has gotten. And,
totally. Yeah, I mean, it's just something I kind of with keeping with that sense of awe to the very end.
Oh yeah,
but maybe
absolutely.
Maybe the T-Rex was that.
But it's so cool. Yeah, maybe that's what it was. Yeah, but it's so cool getting back into Grant's head, because he's sort of the voice I mean, you know, we think of Ian Malcolm as the voice of reason, and we can't push progress. But remember that this is a guy that's really not sure about computers and stuff. You know,
Yeah.
like
He's stuck in.
he's got a little bit of that too, and he's, you know, you get to the very end, and the sense I get from him is that he's appreciating that you know, the world is going to be allowed now to be what it is, and his, you know, he gets to keep doing his job, you know.
Oh, sure. Wait, is it the third one? He's written a book, hasn't he, about his.
I forget. I haven't seen that.
Because he wrote, I think he wrote a book about, you know, the events of Jurassic Park, and you know, and I think obviously people questioned him about his kind of views and opinions. I don't think they kind of believed him, what had happened or what transpired. But yeah, so he still gets some work later on. You know, gets to write a book.
Something I want to mention that I discovered, and I don't know if this is true, and I haven't been able to find anything on it yet. I'm gonna scour a little harder. I don't know if Michael Crichton picked the name John Hammond out of a hat, or if he was looking at a person in history who is suspiciously similar in some ways to the fictional John Hammond. There is a guy who is really important in the history of jazz named John Hammond.
Right. Okay.
I don't know if you know this.
No, I don't know.
And John Hammond, and I didn't know this until a few weeks ago. I was watching a jazz documentary, and I was like, "What? John Hammond?" What he did was he wasn't a musician. He didn't know very much about music, but he had been left a giant inheritance and poured most of it into jazz music and trying to find great talents in jazz.
Really? That's interesting.
And I think that is fascinating.
That's a very good kind of bit of good theory there.
It's
you know, hold some truth there.
There's a comparison to be made there, because, you know, with here's a guy with, you know, the fictional John Hammond who loves theme parks and loves making people happy and loves this idea of dinosaurs, but he doesn't know a thing about it.
Yeah, yeah.
And but if you have enough money, you can influence things.
If you put into Google Michael Crichton and jazz, and if it comes up with like he was a big fan of jazz, you'd be like,
yeah,
you know, you could be right.
Maybe so. I'm gonna do that right now. But isn't that interesting?
That's very cool. That's a nice little bit of trivia. If it, you know, is actually true, then, you know, you found something interesting there.
Well, it's almost cooler if it's not.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Just because, like
it's like a really interesting coincidence, you know.
That would be a fascinating coincidence. I didn't come up with anything right away with
damn. No, never.
But
we'll
see. Anyway, do you have any more interesting tidbits that you would like to share?
Well, as I, you know, I say my final thoughts on this film. Really, you know, it's still an absolute classic. It's a solid summer blockbuster movie. It's not Spielberg's best film. But it does everything it shows you everything that he's good at. You know, it's the perfect sort of film for him. It is classic Spielberg. But at the time, he was making Schindler's List, which is probably a far more important movie, and shows in terms of his direction. You know, if I was Spielberg, I'd probably hold Schindler's List more closer to my heart and be more proud of. Obviously, because he's Jewish as well, and it's such a very kind of, you know, important event in history. But I think the criticisms about it are generally quite valid, but its strengths still hold up. You know, it's not critic proof at all, this movie, but it gives you exactly what you wanted, I think, and I think it totally satisfied everyone's expectations at the time, and even showing it to a younger audience now, I think it would still work. I mean,
oh, definitely.
I presume, you know, the first time you showed it to your kid, you know his reaction, you know.
Yeah, absolutely wowed by it, and how cool that I got to take him to Jurassic World. You know,
Yeah.
he's 5, and I sometimes I wonder if maybe I've become a little bit too desensitized to violence these
Yeah,
days.
'cause he's 5 years old.
You know,
The films are 12A. Oh, what, PG-13?
yeah. I mean, you've got to you got to take it on the case by case with kids. Some kids can handle things that others
Oh,
can't, and
certainly, yeah.
he certainly had no trouble with it. And frankly, I figured that he's seen Jurassic Park. He will probably be okay with World. And I felt like World wasn't violence wise all that far removed from the level of it in this. Still a lot of stuff shown off screen. There's certainly more blood.
There's certainly
But
more blood. Yeah, yeah. But I don't know. I think that just the tone of it makes it kind of acceptable for children to watch. So
yeah.
maybe most kids are quite savvy nowadays, and they're quite they catch on quicker. And they know what's not real and what's
Yeah,
fake.
that's the key, that's the key. Yeah. Well, and my kid, not to go too far into this, but my kid seeing what I do had a much quicker sense of what's real and what's not, and actors playing characters and stuff at a really young age than most do. Like he saw me making Spawn here. You know what I mean? So like he'd see Dad on set making a thing, and then later would see the actual thing, and you immediately start getting a sense of that disconnect.
Yeah, definitely.
When you do that. But anyway, yeah, my final thoughts real quick. I just want to, obviously the movie's done, and usually I have to come up with things to talk about during the credits scroll, but they're not scroll, but they were shorter back then. Um, but yeah, I just want to echo some of what you said, and I think it says a lot about the movie that we can kind of pick it apart, and it's got its obviously it's got its flaws and stuff, but at the end of the day, I still love it. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah, certainly. It's a movie that kind of despite it's a movie we strongly grew up on, and it's an important part of our childhood, so there's always going to be that nostalgic factor thrown into it. But I think of adults who have not seen it, well, it'd be mad to think that any adult had not seen it, but seeing it now, it was still, as I said, it will still work. And
yeah, I think there would still be something there for a lot of people, unless you just don't like thrillers where we have to contrive some kind of a situation where the actual situation would have been more interesting if we hadn't had to make it a monster movie, and that's bothersome enough to some people that they just can't enjoy a thing like this. I don't have that.
No, yeah, certainly.
Well, everybody, thanks so much for listening to our commentary. We sure appreciate it. Oliver, it was really cool getting to chat with you about something different.
Oh yeah, definitely. Not superhero related, which is good, which is refreshing.
Yeah. I don't get enough of that myself. Yeah, no, it is refreshing. Especially because here in a couple hours I'm gonna go make another show about superheroes, like I always do. It's really fun to get away from that, do something different. Folks, thanks again. We sure appreciate you as always, and I will try to have Oliver back in less than a year this time.
Yes. Well, you have to let me know what you want to do.
I will. We'll talk about it.
We'll sort something out.
And folks, feel free if there's anything you want us to talk about to make requests, and we'll consider them. Oliver's like, oh God, what? We'll see you folks later. I'm Captain Logan.
I'm Oliver. Take care.